Good to see you guys. How you doing? Great. Hello and welcome to Penguin Live, where you have the best seat in the house for the best magic in the world. I'm your host, Dan Harlan. Thank you so much for supporting live magic. And we have an exceptionally talented gentleman with us. He has traveled the world performing and exploring magic in more than 30 countries. He was a guest speaker on Science and Illusion at Trinity College in Ireland and Oxford University in England. His TV series, Breaking Magic, The Magic of Science, aired on the Discovery Channel and was watched by more than 100 million people worldwide. So please welcome Wayne Houchin.
Wow. Wow, thank you very much. A few years ago, I went through an experience, a near-death experience that caused me to pause, look around at my life, and ask the question, why, a lot. So, my presentation tonight is pretty simple. I want to show you why it is that I love magic. But in order to do that, we have to do a few things first. What was your name?
Nick.
Nick. Good to see you, Nick. Nick, I want you to hang on to this. Right. It's an envelope. We're going to use it later. It's sealed. Don't let anyone touch it. Right. Nick gets an envelope. What's your name?
Don.
Don. Good to see you, Don. You can stay where you are. I brought something for you, Don. Some money. It's just $1. Don, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
I want you to hold it with your right hand, but you're going to hold it up nice and high. Don, don't move. Magic. Yeah. Let's see. What's your name?
Jean.
Jean. Nice to meet you, Jean. We've given Don $1. I brought some money for you, too.
Okay.
But yours, Jean, I'm going to put a little tear, right? Okay, maybe a big tear. If this was mine, or if this was yours, you'd probably be upset at me, but because it's mine, I'm sure you don't care. Hold it up like Dawn.
Okay.
Like Dawn, good. We're going to mark it by taking that piece I tore off.
Okay.
I'm just going to put it beneath your thumb. Perfect. So over here we've placed a bill. And over here we've placed a torn bill. Those are things that we know. But the question tonight is, can you trust the things that you know? And what does it mean when the things you know become things you don't know? I don't know. Watch. In case you missed it, I just moved that torn piece. That shouldn't change anything about what we know. But open your hand. Unfold your bill. Take a look. Open it all the way up. What do you notice about it?
There's no tear.
There's no tear. You can see what's coming, Dawn. Take a look. Go ahead. I won't touch it. You open that all the way up. Is your bill now torn on the end?
It is.
Does the piece match?
It does.
It matches perfectly. Of course it does. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll steal that. Thank you. This is a fun one. How many of you recognize this trick? Let's start there. A couple of you. Okay. This is a remixed version of a wonderful trick by Jay Sankey called Identifying Features. And I'll kind of take you through the process. Several years ago, I was brainstorming or brainstorming ideas for a theatrical show that I was working on. And I took Sankey's trick and I tried to find some way to do it for a larger audience, because it's really a bit of a close-up piece of magic, the original handling. But I ran into some problems. And because of those problems, I ended up moving away from the original method and also creating a kind of an interesting presentation that I'll share with you. So the first problem that I had when I was trying to find a way to do this in a large theatrical space was I didn't like the idea of walking out on stage at the beginning of the show and needing to borrow money from someone in the audience, because I wanted to use this as my opener like tonight. before the audience gets a chance to know you, it's just kind of strange to ask to borrow money. So I decided to use my bills. Second, this was a larger theater that we were working in. And so I had to make sure that the tear of the bill, when I tore that piece off, that had to be visible to people sitting up in the balcony. So it had to be a large piece that came off the bill. And the last thing, theatrically, I thought it was really interesting for the action to take place between two audience members instead of between me and an audience member. So because of all those things, over time I was forced to change the method, but also develop a presentation that made it fit. And what I did is I came up with a very simple gimmicked bill that makes this possible. I start by taking a $1 bill, and I just tear the end off of it, like that. I'll put this aside for just a minute. I then take a second bill, and on this one, I'm going to fold one end over and crease it, and using a little bit of rubber cement or glue, I'm going to glue the torn end to it, like that. Now, if I was actually doing this, setting it up for a performance, I would take my time and make sure that all of the artwork on the front of the bill lined up as best as possible. All right? So this bill now has an extra end that's been stuck to the end. But we have a little bit of a problem here. You can see if I'm not careful, if I angle it at all, you can see the folded bit behind the bill there. So to prevent that from happening, it's very simple. I just fold the corners in like this. Right? And now from the front, hopefully, we have a gimmicked bill that looks normal. So this is the gimmicked bill. I'll put this aside for just a minute. When I'm ready to perform, I walk to one side of the audience, John, and the first bill that I take out is the one that's been torn, secretly torn. But when I open it up like this. Right? I hide the torn edge behind my fingers. And this is just a very brief little flash. Right? Because as soon as I start to crumple it up, I don't have to hide it anymore. It's just a crumpled up bill. So it's just a quick little flash. I crumple the bill. This goes to my first volunteer. And then I walk to the other side of the audience. And when I open up the gimmicked bill that we set up, I do it like this. Okay? Not like this. It's more deceptive if it's this way, I'm just saying. And this, I think, this moment here, when I tear this bill, is the first really crucial, important moment in the routine. Because if the audience doesn't see, especially, it's nice that we're in this kind of a space. But if you're working in a large space, a theatrical space, if the audience doesn't see or if they don't believe that the bill's been torn, you don't have much of an effect. So the nice thing about this gimmick is it's such a large piece that comes off that even from the back of the theater, people can see it. But as the glue separates, and this is almost more important than the visual, as the glue separates, it sounds right. Right? And when people hear that, that's almost more important than them seeing that piece come off. So all the attention and focus comes here to the piece that I just ripped off. This immediately gets crumpled. This is a whole bill. Right? It gets crumpled up. It goes to my second volunteer. And like I did during the performance, I mark it by putting the torn piece beneath her thumb. And now, for me, it's all fun at this point because all the hard work's done, right? But to the audience, what comes next is the most important part. This is where the magic happens. Moving the torn piece from one side of the audience to the other. For the audience, that's the magic moment. So I've chosen not to step on it. I don't do it with music. I don't talk through it. I don't make any jokes. I just silently move it from one side to the other. But there's something interesting about that silence. It focuses people's attention, and they start to lean forward. And by the time I get back to my first volunteer, usually I can hear people in the audience gasp. Some people see what's coming. And the great thing about that is, I start the trick with this a gimmicked bill that's got a glued thing stuck to it and a bill that's been pre-torn. But by the time I get to this moment and everyone in the audience is with me and they're focused on what's happening, I'm clean. So I put this in my first volunteer's hand. I allow them, my volunteers, to open up. They can see that the bills have switched places. And I always let them keep the money, unless they're magicians at a magic lecture. Sorry. And that's the transposition of a torn bill. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's a question I think that somebody watching maybe at home would probably ask, and that is, when you were exploring the possibilities, did you come up with ways of doing it with borrowed money and things like that, and did you just eliminate them because they were too complicated?
No, actually, you know know this very well, that the creative process kind of goes all over the place, and sometimes it's like that, right, where you kind of arrive at the idea through the process of elimination. You just go through everything that you know, everything that works, and you whittle it down until you end up with something you're happy with. This was a little different. This gimmick thing was like one of the first ideas I played with when I was thinking about how could I do this for a larger audience. And this idea just popped in my head if I glued the thing, and it just took a little bit of time to work out the details of all that. But I didn't play around with too many, which means that there's a lot of fun stuff to explore.
That somebody could explore it, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it'd be possible that somebody could do a really good missed call from the front row, in a large enough theater.
Sure.
Everybody get out a $1 bill and then go down to somebody and go, this one's fine.
Yeah,
right?
Oh yeah, sure.
And make
That's
it
clever.
seem like it's borrowed.
Yeah, that's good.
Pretty
That's
simple
fun.
solution, right?
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot you could do with this.
We do have a question over here on this side in the studio. Let's get a microphone over there. Yeah.
Are you putting glue all the way down from top to bottom?
Good question. Let me show you here. So this is our normal bill, our unripped bill here. I'll fold this end over, and the glue I put right here, just on the edge. And you want to use, this is kind of a knacky thing. You need to experiment a little bit, depending upon what kind of glue you use. You want to use the smallest amount of glue possible for you to get the effect, right? To make the sound, for it to stick. But you don't want to use too much for a couple of reasons. The first reason, right, you can feel it on your fingers. If you have too much glue, too much residue, you just don't want to leave a big sticky mess. I'm not sure, a person would find it and think anything of it. I'm not sure they could reverse engineer it like that. But it's just better if it's not a sticky mess. The unexpected reason, or it was unexpected to me until I discovered it, why you want to be careful with the glue that you use. The first time that I did this, I had used rubber cement, and I used a little bit too much rubber cement. So when I went to remove this extra piece, it was glued so securely it just legitimately tore, which meant that it didn't match. There's not a really great way to recover from that. So I learned quickly that you just need to test it. And a little tip with rubber cement, I would make up a bunch of bills, let them dry, and just leave them. And when it was time for a performance, weeks, months, whenever, I would take it out and carefully separate it. I would actually pull the bill all the way off, which weakens the glue, but due to the nature of rubber cement, it's still a little sticky. So you can just stick it right back to it, and just before I go out on stage, that's enough to ensure that it's not glued too securely. It just gives me peace of mind. The other thing I'll mention, though, along those lines, while we're talking about it, is eventually I moved away from glue, and I started using wax. And I just want to show you why. Wax is what I used tonight for this performance. And what I mean by wax is this is a little bit of, it's kind of like magician's wax, but it's not that expensive. I went to a craft store and I just got some craft wax. And you can see it's pliable, but it also, it doesn't leave too much of a residue, if that makes sense. So what I can do with this wax is I can rub just a little bit on the edge of the bill. And it takes a little bit of practice. But the nice thing about using wax instead of using glue is you don't have to let it dry. You get the same benefit, you get the same effect. It sticks, it creates a sound, but it's a much faster setup. And this wax, you're going to see throughout the lecture, I use this stuff for a lot. So it's just come in handy. And the other nice thing about this is I travel a lot, right? I don't have to travel with glue. I don't have to worry about liquids and all of that. I got a little thing of wax. This will last me forever with this trick. So just a little tip there, but I think when it comes to those kinds of details, it's just kind of personal preference, right? It's whatever glue you have, whatever makes you more comfortable. Any other questions?
We get a question over here on this side.
This is also about the glue. If you were to use the rubber cement, do you ever have a problem when you tear the piece off and then crumple it that it's sticking to itself?
No, I haven't had that be a problem. And I think one of the reasons why, let me just show you this again. Right, if I've got a little bit of rubber cement here on this bill, I tear the end off. This gets immediately crumpled, but it's really crumpled into this messed up little ball, right? There's such a small amount of rubber cement that when I ask my volunteer at the finale to open it up, my words are very, I choose them specifically. I say, open your bill all the way up, unfold it all the way. And that just forces them to just unfold it all the way, right? And so I just make sure that they open it all the way up. Yeah. Any last questions?
We have one
right,
question
yeah.
way over here. Let me grab the microphone from you. Yep, cool. There you go.
When the spectator opens the one with a rubber cement on it, do they ever find that it has rubber cement and it's sticky at all?
No, I've never had that happen. But again, that's just because I pay very careful attention to how much glue that I use and then the words that I use when I tell them to open it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Was there another hand over here? All right. The last thing I'll say about this is, once again, this is a kind of a remixed version of a trick by Jay Sankey called Identifying Features. This is great if you're doing a stand-up show, if you're in front of an audience. If you want to do this close-up for maybe 2 or 3 people, restaurant magic, bar magic, go look up Jay Sankey's original Identifying Features. It's worth it. It's a great trick. That's what I call the transposition of a torn bill. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's see. What's your name? Yeah. Mary?
Yeah.
Do you know this person?
Yes, I do.
What's your name?
Donna.
Donna. Mary and Donna. You guys would be perfect. You want to help me? Let's give Mary and Donna a round of applause. Right over here, Mary. And right over here, Donna. Right here on this side, actually. Hi. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. Good. Me too. It's okay to be nervous. That's the welcome to the audience. Welcome. Yeah. I brought you up here because I want to show you something kind of strange using some thread.
Huh.
I need your help here. This is cotton thread.
Okay.
Will you hold that end right there? And I want you to hold this end right here. Yeah. Whoops. That's all right. 5-second rules.
Here?
Yeah. Magic, if you think about it,
Okay.
challenges the assumptions that we have about truth. Does that make sense? Magic's about possibility, right? The possibility for something surprising or something amazing. And sometimes magic is just about the possibility for something strange. Watch.
It's like spaghetti.
Huh? Huh? My parents are very proud.
Uh-oh. You want me to eat the other end?
Well,
Like that
I wasn't going
cartoon.
to, but
Like the cartoon.
like Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah,
right?
Lady.
Come a little closer too. I'm gonna see. You keep backing up.
I know. I don't know what I'm doing.
I know. Watch.
Okay. No. Don't do that.
I haven't. I haven't done it yet.
No! No. I'm glad my son isn't here to see this. He'd want to imitate you.
You want to touch it?
No.
I didn't think so. Can you see that okay? And this is my gift to you. Thank you. I'm joking. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. You were great. I love that trick. It's this one's good for like birthday parties and kids' magic. Restaurant work. You're right. Italian restaurants? Many years back, I did a show with a man named Captain Don Leslie. Now this is in Chico, Northern California. It's the town I grew up in. And Captain Don was a really interesting guy. He was a sword swallower. And it just so happened that he retired in my small little hometown. And his act was amazing. He would walk out on stage, and when I first saw him, he was very old. And so he walked out on stage. He had this long white hair going down his back. And he wasn't wearing a shirt. But his entire body was covered in tattoos. So this was a guy who looked like he'd spent his life in the sideshow. And he took swords, real swords, and he carefully swallowed them and then pulled them back out. He took needles, long needles, and he just pierced the skin on his arm, years before David Blaine. He ended his performance by, he reached into his bag and he pulled out a card, and he held it right against his chest, his bare chest, remember. He then reached back into his bag and he pulled out a very large stapler. 3 staples right down the center. Stapled the card to his chest. That's how he took his bow, and that's how he left the stage. The first time I saw him do that, I thought to myself, why? But it was amazing. So we did this show together, and I'm standing backstage. I listen to him perform. I hear the whole performance. I hear the stapler. I hear the audience's reaction. I watch him walk backstage towards me, and he's walking right towards me. I watch him reach up, and he just pulls the card off his chest. But as he turns it over, there's no blood on it. There are no staples. There's just a big piece of double-stick tape. What was interesting to me about that wasn't the trick, but it was the fact that everybody in the audience believed it. Even I believed it. I didn't even question it when he stapled the card to his chest. And after the show, everybody was talking about this crazy old man that stapled a card to his chest. Right? When people see this kind of, whatever you want to call it, shock magic, bizarre magic, they don't necessarily respond to it because it seems impossible. Right? People react to it because to a certain extent it seems real. When people see the thread go in my mouth and come out my eye, very rarely does anyone ask me, how did you do that? More commonly, it's some form of, what the hell happened to you when you were a kid? But it is a trick. It's an illusion. And I'll take you through it. I start by taking a white piece of string, about this long, and I use a Sharpie to color one end black. Just, I don't know, maybe half an inch. And I let it dry. Very carefully, I fold that string up in between my fingers into a little bundle, and then I use Visine, or eye drops. Same kind of eye drops you would use if you had dry eyes or red eyes. And I just make sure that the little bundle of thread is wet. And very carefully, I take that thread, and I place it down inside my lower eyelid. Right? That little black end that I colored with the Sharpie, I leave that sticking right out of the corner, just about half an inch, maybe an inch, and it looks like an eyelash. And that's what I reach up and grab later on. And of course, the illusion is created by taking a second piece of string, and I pull the second piece of string up into my mouth at the same time that I pull that one out of my eye. And that's what creates the continuation. It looks like it comes all the way through. How many of you are actually interested in doing that, performing that? Really? Really? Penguin magic. Now I know. All right. I'll give you a couple of important points. The string that I use is cotton, and I mentioned that for a reason. Cotton is soft, right? Don't do this with fishing line. But you get my point. The most common kind of thread, unless you go to like a fabric shop, I think it's, at least here in the States, it's more common to find like a polyester blend. Polyester is just a little bit rougher, a little bit scratchier. It's not as comfortable. So cotton is a good thing to find. Making sure that the string is wet when you put it in your eyes, also very important. You can imagine if you had dry string that you put there, it would just soak up your tears, dry your eyes out, and it wouldn't feel very comfortable. I think the last important thing I want to mention about this is I've been doing it since I was 17 years old. I've been doing it for a long time. I've never had an eye injury or a problem with it, but I'm very, very careful when I perform this. I make sure that my hands are clean. I sanitize them before I set it up. It's just something that I'm very aware of. So if you're careful, it is possible to perform this safely, but it takes a lot of getting used to. As you can imagine, this is not a beginner trick. So when I've taught this to magicians, to other professionals, what I've asked them to do is to use a small piece of string, just for practice. And then as you get more and more comfortable with having that string in your eye and pulling it out, you can make that string longer and longer and longer and just kind of work up to it. Are there any questions? Yeah, I know you have one. Yeah.
Number one, is there a special way of folding it so that it doesn't come out in one lump? And number two, since you make it come out simultaneously, and the other one goes in your mouth, you just suck on it and it comes up? Or?
Great questions. Let me move this table up there and then I'll answer that. Let me show you what's going on here. So, your first question, I'll show you my technique here. You can imagine if you were to ball the string up into a little ball of thread, right? When it's unraveling, when you're pulling it out of your eye, it would need to spin to unravel. That's not a good thing. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to zigzag fold the thread. And this is very simple, although it's easier to talk about than it is to do. There's a kind of a knack to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my index finger forward and then pull it straight back, like this. So I'm not rolling it into a ball. It's kind of like the word I want to use is like Tootsie Roll, right? You're just kind of rolling it, and you're gathering it up into a little ball of thread. And if you look at this, if I pull some of this out now, you can see if you look at the string, the zigzags in it, right? And so that just helps it to come out a bit easier, but there's still, occasionally I can feel it, like that whole little ball will want to, or whole little bundle of thread will want to fall out. If that happens, and I think it happened during the performance tonight, so when you watch this on video again, you can go back and see it. But when I feel that little bundle might want to come out, I'll take my left hand and I just put it right up here and I hold the string like this. Right? That way, if the bundle does come out, my fingers catch it, nobody in the audience knows, and I can just hold it here until it unravels. But it's kind of a knacky thing. So the more you practice it, your exact technique of how you fold that thread up, your technique of how you put it in, whether or not it's well lubricated, all of those things are going to affect how it comes out of your eye. So there's a lot of little variables, and it's just practice, time, and experience that makes it all come together. There are a few other hands, too. Oh,
the other question is the technique on
right. Okay,
getting
good.
the other one to come up. Yep.
No, I'm not doing the spaghetti kind of suck a noodle up kind of a thing. It's a little bit gentler than that. If my hand, this is weird, but imagine that my hand is my tongue. And my fingers here are my lips, right? If the thread is laying on my tongue like this is ridiculous. Let's see if it works. And here's my lips, right? I open my lips so that I can pull my tongue straight back, which pulls the thread up. I close my lips, which keeps the thread in place. As my tongue comes forward, it gathers a little bit more thread. I open and pull it up again. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Right on. Good luck. Yeah, so let me just show you that. Right? Those of you at home, I hope you're enjoying yourself. Yeah, so it's slow, but what that means is that I need to match the actions. So as it's coming out of my eye, I pull it out as it comes in, and then I pause. My tongue gets more, and then I pull a little bit more, and I pause. It's only after the thread in my mouth is all the way in my mouth that I'm free to kind of pull it all the way clear. And then, I'm sure you're wondering, what do I do with the thread in my mouth? I did try swallowing it once. And when I did, I was on stage in front of an audience, and it unraveled as I swallowed it.
Oh.
It wasn't too bad. I coughed a lot and had to get water, but I prefer to just stick it in the side of my cheek and I spit it out after the show. So, whatever your preference is. Any other questions?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Get a microphone here, and then if we can get one to the
Mic
other
right
side
there.
too.
How long are you comfortable with it under your eye? In other words, do you start the
right.
show with that?
That's a good question. When you first start doing this, most people I teach it to tell me that they have a hard time keeping it in for more than a minute at first. It just takes time, which is why I recommend that people practice with a small piece of string. Because over that time, you will get used to it. And I think I don't wear contacts, but I've talked to people that do wear contacts who have told me it was similar for them. They had to kind of get used to touching their eye and putting a contact in and what that whole process was before they were comfortable with it. So for me, I've left it in up to 5 hours before pulling it out. Yeah, which is a bit extreme, and I don't do that often, but it's when I'm going to a gig or I'm at an important event and I just don't know if I'm going to have time to set up or when I'm going to have time to set up. I like to err on the side of caution and just set it up beforehand. It's a little peace of mind. The thing I'll mention about that, though, I carry around a Zippo lighter when I do this trick. It's in my little kit for this trick. And the reason why is because I put this in my pocket if I'm set up, and I'll pull it out just before I go on, maybe 5 minutes before I go on, and I'll use it as a mirror, right? To check, to make sure the thread is still in position, right in the corner of my eye. If it's not in position, I have time, I can excuse myself, go to the restroom, I can go fix it, or whatever I need to do. But if it is in position, I just open the lighter, maybe light it for a minute, and then put it in my pocket. If anyone at the event sees me doing it, it doesn't look like I'm checking my eye in a mirror, it just looks like I look at my lighter for a minute. Right? But it allows me that peace of mind to know just before I go out on stage that everything is where it's supposed to be.
And another question up here. We have a question on the other side.
Oh,
though.
yeah, we got right here.
Is there any reason, perhaps, that you couldn't do this only putting it in your ear or your nose?
You know?
Maybe with a little less discomfort?
Sure. I like to say, what's the expression? Let your freak flag fly, I think is what they say. If you want to pull it out of your ear, I don't think that's any more normal than pulling it out of your eye. So yeah, if it's more comfortable, sure.
Yeah, and then the only thing is, if you're doing it out of your nose, learn to do it for real, because
you can
that
really
is
do
a
it
real
out of your
thing.
nose. Yeah,
the head
absolutely.
flossing. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I suspect, I haven't actually confirmed this, but I suspect that you can probably really do the thread thing. And the reason why is because I have seen people who are able to the popular one that's been on TV a few times, where they are able to take a drink of milk
and squirt
it out their tear duct. And I don't know what the connection is there or how that works, but I think I saw someone do that in the 90s, like on the, I think it was the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah,
TV
or on That's Incredible, or one of those shows or
things in the mid
Guinness ones,
'90s.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. That's Incredible. It's way older, but I think I saw it on that.
Yeah. It's pretty strange. What I want to know though is how does someone discover they can blow milk through their tear duct?
Yeah, it must have been a really funny joke.
Yeah, right.
Do you put in the middle of the sock or the corner?
I think everybody's eye is going to be shaped a little bit differently. For me, it's a little bit more comfortable kind of off to the side up near this corner. But I talked to at least one magician who told me that he prefers to perform it with it coming out of the inside corner, right where his tear duct is. And for whatever reason, he's just more comfortable performing it that way. So I think it just depends on your eye.
Right?
What's that?
Either corners of the eye.
Yes.
Not in the middle.
Yeah, for me, having that little black end that looks like an eyelash, having that come out of the middle, I've tried that, and it's just uncomfortable. It's just not comfortable there. But as soon as I push it over to the side, to the corner, it kind of settles into a really nice spot, and it's good.
Do we have can we pass the microphone down here? Yep, I have a question. Is it on?
I have a comment
Yeah.
and a question. Comment is that since I was on your right side,
Right.
I was looking very closely to see how you're doing it, and I didn't see anything but eyelashes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of the amazing thing. I do have thick eyelashes, and I know that some people don't have as thick of eyelashes, and I'm sure that plays a role. But I'll have this set sometimes if the lighting's not good, and I'm at a gig and I'm performing and I just can't see. I'll ask my wife to check, and she's hiding in the back corner right now. But Fran's back there, and Fran works on all the magic, all the shows. She's behind the scenes, but she'll often look and she'll lean in and be right here, and she can't see it. And I'll have to go find better lighting to make sure it's. And then, sure enough, I'll find it, and it's like right there, and it really does blend in. And you start to move 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet away at all, and you just can't see it. Which means, actually, the nice thing about that is on some shows. Like if I'm performing on a big stage and just people are not this close, I'll leave it hanging out quite a bit just so I know that I can feel it. I can feel it right there. So I know there's no question. And even when you bring people up on stage, they don't know what to expect. So they're not staring at my eyeballs. They're on stage in front of an audience, and there's that pressure too. It's surprisingly easy to hide.
Well, I didn't hear you suck it up. So that's why I was looking. How could it be there already if you hadn't even made a sucking noise?
So I'll address that. And that is a conscious thing that I've played with over the years. I like one of the things that I experiment with is contrast. And so I like the idea of being this kind of a nice performer, I don't know how to put it, that does shocking magic, as opposed to if I was maybe dressed a little bit differently or had a different kind of music playing or something like that. You might expect a certain type of shock magic. But I like the idea of playing against that. And so one of the things that I used to do early on is I would kind of do the whole sucking, gagging thing as I was, trying to push it up. And it's just gross. I found that it added too much of a kind of a gross thing to it. And I think for some performers that really works, but I don't think my audiences want to watch me hack up a lung. The kid, yeah, sure. But that's totally a personal preference thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay,
and a good tip.
Yeah. Was did you purposely?
So, still use the microphone for the question.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think it was on.
Yeah. It should be on.
Okay.
If the button's up, it's on. Yep. Go
okay.
ahead.
My question is that did you, for effect, pick two of us women, knowing that we might be mothers, to be kind of watching being grossed out or
always
fascinating or whatever?
Yeah. No, it's really good. You're absolutely right. There is an art to volunteer selection. Okay. It's who you bring up on stage makes a very big difference in your magic. And so I pay very close attention to who I invite up, especially with these kinds of tricks. You can get someone up who maybe is grossed out a little bit too much and the reaction doesn't work as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a nice balance. But yeah, you guys looked like you would be fun. You were smiling. You obviously knew each other. That's nice because when you get two people that know each other, they're a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more willing to express themselves in front of an audience. So, and then I frame it specifically. I get you guys up here to hold the string, but then when I'm getting ready to pull that thread out of my eye, I have the nice moment where I make each of you come closer. And the reason why I'm getting your faces right here, right? So for the picture, as I'm pulling the thread out, the audience can see the thread, and they can see your guys' faces react to it. And it just theatrically, it turns into a whole nother thing. Yeah. So yeah, I do think a lot about who I bring up, and it's kind of always a fun game because you never know. You never know.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, question again?
Like a clean question, I guess.
Yeah, right on. Do
Yeah.
it.
Is
I'm
it-
intrigued.
No, like with the string. Like, do you do anything when you first buy it? Like, do you clean it?
Oh, I
something?
see. Do I
Yeah.
clean it? Right. No, I don't. But I think that's probably just because I can't think of a really good way to do that. That's not silly. So I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't. But I do. I wash my hands. I make sure that I use hand sanitizer just before I set it up, and I've been good that way.
You could soak it in wine instead of alcohol.
You could soak it in wine. Yeah, I like you. Yeah. That's good. Are there any other questions? I know that there were some hands over here earlier. Did anyone? Oh, all the way in the back. Yeah.
Oh, could you use any other marker besides Sharpie or?
Can you use any other marker besides a Sharpie? I would stick to a Sharpie, and the reason why is because you just want it to be permanent, right? If it gets wet because of your eyelashes or something, you don't want it to run and you get ink in your eye, and then you got ink in your eye, and you got to do a magic trick in front of people, and that sucks. So yeah, I'd stick with a permanent marker and then make sure it's dry. Yeah. Any last questions? All right, guys, that's what I call thread. Thank you very much. Thank you. What did I do with my Zippo? Aha. Do any of you draw? Are there any artists in the audience? One. Right on. Yeah. I'm a terrible artist. I used to try when I was a kid because my dad's a pretty good artist, so he would do these pictures that were great, and I was like, how did you do that? But I just didn't have the skill for it. But one of my favorite artists is Pablo Picasso. And Picasso once said that to draw, all you have to do is close your eyes and sing. What an asshole. From my experience, it's entirely unhelpful. I want to show you something with a drawing. But I want to create a drawing that's unique, a drawing that's a bit more abstract instead of something specific. Let's start over here. What's your name?
Carol.
Carol? Good to see you, Carol. Carol, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Left.
You're left-handed. In a moment, Carol, I'm going to ask you to take this pen with your right hand.
Okay.
I'm going to hold the paper up. When I tell you to, I want you to just take a breath, close your eyes, and you're just going to let your hand move. You're just going to let it do whatever it does. So the point is, you don't have to try to draw like a tree or a house or a shape. You're not being tested.
Okay.
Abstract is important. Take it with your right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And imagine just a blank piece of paper. And just draw. I don't know what the hell that is. It's perfect. That's the point. That's the point. You said you could draw? What was your name?
Nick.
Nick. Good to see you, Nick. I'm going to step right over here. Are you right-handed or left-handed, Nick?
I'm right-handed.
Right-handed. Take it with your left. Nick, this might be a bit of a challenge since you might have some artistic ability. I don't want you to draw anything specific. Same deal. When I tell you to, just close your eyes, take a breath. You're just going to let your hand wander. Go ahead, take a breath, and draw. That's good, you got my finger. You came off the page, it works. Yes. Let's add to it, we'll make it a little bit, let's come back here. Who did I see over here? What's your name?
Leon.
Leon?
Yeah.
Good to see you, Leon. Same question, you know the deal, right-handed or left-handed,
Right.
Leon?
So I use my left.
Use your left, hold it up, take a breath, and draw. Wow. Oh, that's good. You kind of looped around, and I don't know what you did, but it's good. You saw that too. Even though our drawing was made by people sitting in different parts of the audience, combined together, they've created something unique, something specific to this moment. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's good. I want you to take a look at this. Pick out something on here, some part of the drawing that you can recognize. Good luck. What's your name right here, sir?
Butch.
Butch, what do you see when you look at the drawing? Like if you had to pick out a shape or just use your imagination, what does it look like?
Kind of a circle there.
A circle? Yeah, that was yours, Leon. Yeah. What? Say it again?
Turtle.
A turtle. Right on. That's good. All right. Who else sees something?
Backwards 3.
Oh yeah, right over here. It kind of looks like a 3. I think that was maybe one of yours. Pick out some part of the drawing that you can recognize. Just, you don't have to remember the whole thing, just some element that you'll be able to recognize. Good? Good. Belief is a funny thing. We like to think that we base our beliefs in fact. Maybe to a certain extent we do, but the truth is, we choose what we want to believe. And I find that interesting because our beliefs change reality. Right now, I'm sure you believe the paper's burning. You can see the smoke. You can smell the smoke. Ashes. You believe the drawing's been burned. It's a strong belief. But what if, tonight, together, we all choose to believe something different? You see the ashes? Do you see anything here that you recognize? Thank you. Thank you. Really, I think the only interesting thing about mystery is not knowing. Sometimes there is no explanation, and sometimes no explanation is necessary. Ashes. You still have that envelope? Hold on. You've been holding that the whole time, right? Tear it open. Pull out what's inside. What is it?
It's another envelope.
Another envelope. Is that one sealed too?
Yes.
Is there any way anyone could have touched that while you were holding it?
No.
Tear it open. What is it?
Another envelope.
It's another envelope. Is that one sealed too? That one's sealed too, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm an ass. You can just toss the trash on the floor there. Bring that last envelope up here. I don't want to touch it. Just hold that up to the light for a minute. Do you see anything in there?
Yeah.
Yeah? Go ahead, tear it open.
I can. Yeah.
pull that out. You see anything there that you recognize?
Yeah.
You see the ashes on it too, yeah.
Oh.
Show the camera. Show the camera. That's our drawing. Thank you very much, man. That's for you to keep. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure if you ask them later, they'll autograph it for you too. Wipe my hand off here. So this is the only trick in the lecture that I'm not going to teach tonight, and I'm totally joking. I'm going to teach it just for you, just for you. That was good. Yeah, don't worry, I am. So. Get the rest of my stuff. Hold on. So I grew up in a small town in Northern California, a little town called Chico. And when I was growing up, no other magicians in town. There were no magic shops in town, and this was before YouTube, believe it or not. I don't know. It's hard to think about. So I grew up I felt isolated growing up. I wasn't really too much aware of the magic community. The nearest magic shop was in Sacramento, Grand Illusions Magic Shop, Steve Johnson. I got up there as often as I could. When I was 18, my dad bought us tickets to Magic Live, the very first Magic Live back in 2001. Now, this is a big convention in Las Vegas. This was the first time that I went to a magic convention. It was also the first time I was in Las Vegas. It was a lot of fun. One of the most memorable things from that convention was a performance that Guy Hollingworth did. You're familiar with Hollingworth's work, yeah? He did this trick where he walked out on stage, and it was a pretty small group. It was similar to this, and I was pretty close to the front. He had someone take a card and sign their name on it, and then he showed it around. And as he brought the card by, I remember this. I memorized that signature. You know, this is Guy Hollingworth. I'd watched him on TV. I knew what he was about. I was going to catch him. You know, I was an 18-year-old kid that knew it all. So I memorized the signature. And he took the card and he openly destroyed it. And then, with no moves, he asked someone in the audience to open up a sealed envelope. Guy Hollingworth didn't touch the card. Out of the envelope came the same signed card. I was so angry. It fooled me so bad. It was a beautiful, looking back on it now, I can see how beautiful of a moment that was. But he fooled me really bad, and I later learned that the simple and brilliant secret to that trick is in his book, Drawing Room Deceptions. And although the method to the Post-it note trick is different, the concept is essentially the same. And I'll take you guys through it. So I start by taking a white piece of paper. On that piece of paper, I scribble a little scribble. I take a photo of it, and then I put it on my computer. Take a look. Do you recognize the drawing? It's like a whole nother trick, I know. Stay with me. Now, we have the studio lights on in here, so it's pretty bright. But if I take a Post-it note and stick it to the screen, and sit in a dark room, you can kind of see it there, right? If I sit in a dark room, I can see straight through the paper to the drawing. So I take a pen that won't bleed through the paper. That's very important. Right? Experience.
What pen do you know?
Yeah, sure.
The
Let me
brand?
show you. Let me show you what I use.
Because we.
Yeah, right.
Did you discover this?
I did a little bit, but it wasn't a disaster. I was able to clean it.
Right.
But yeah, of course. Everything I know, I've learned from experience. So I like to use these. These are the Expo wet erase pens, right? And they're kind of like a dry erase pen for a whiteboard, but instead of dry erase, it's wet erase, which means it just wipes off with a wet cloth. I don't know if that makes much of a difference for this trick, but those are the kinds of pens that I like to use. And the reason why I like these is it creates a thick, dark line. It looks like a Sharpie, right? You can see it from a distance, but it's not dark enough or thick enough to bleed through the paper. So I like to use these kinds of pens. All right. So I take the pen that won't bleed through the paper and I trace it. Before we move on from here, I will say if you don't have a computer, you can use a phone. If you have a phone that's large enough, if you have a large enough screen that you can fit a Post-it note on it, you could just take a photo. Or if you don't have technology or you don't want to deal with technology, you can use a sunny window. If you have a sunny window, you can put the drawing on the window, tape it there, put another piece of paper, the Post-it note right over it, and the light from the sun shining through will create the same effect. So this doesn't have to involve technology if you don't want to go there. All right. Now I trace it. Let's put this away. So I trace my drawing. I make a copy of it. But I don't just do it once, I do it 3 times. So I have 3 identical copies of the same scribble on a Post-it note. You see where this is going. One of these, the great thing about this, you'll see later, there are many different options for where these things could reappear. So I play around with new ideas all the time. What I did tonight, the first Post-it note, I took this one, I folded it up into a little packet, and I stuck it onto the bottom of my shoe. It's important to make sure that it sticks. So I had one copy just hanging out on the bottom of my shoe. I'm sorry, you want to get that for the camera? Yeah, we'll do that. I should maybe, that's better. I don't know. I feel like I'm dancing. I don't know what I'm doing. So that's for the first revelation. Some of the other places that I've made this reappear, instead of my shoe, which I'll show you in a minute, is I've just made it reappear out of my pocket. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So one of the drawings goes somewhere. In this case, my shoe. The second drawing, this is going to get folded up, and I place it inside of a nest of envelopes that I hand out later. Right? The third drawing, the last one, this one, I'm going to stick face down onto my pad of sticky notes. Just like that, right? And there it is. To make it a little bit easier for me later on, I like to give just a little bend here, not a crease, but just a little bit of bend to the lower left corner. And this is now set up and ready for a performance. So during the performance, I do exactly what you saw earlier. We create a drawing with people sitting in different parts of the audience. But the words that I use are very important. I give the pen to my volunteer and I tell them that I want them to hold the pen in their non-dominant hand. Right? I ask them to close their eyes, and I tell them that we're not trying to draw anything specific. We're going for something abstract. So I ask them to just let their hand move. Now, as they hold the pen, will you take this again? As they hold the pen up, I hold the paper up like this. So my volunteer ends up drawing onto the back of my drawing. Same piece of paper, they're just writing on the other side. Does that make sense so far? All right? So I ask my volunteer to close their eyes. I hold the paper like this. My volunteer draws on the paper. Right? Good. And then I look at it. I make some comment on it. And I move on to the next person. Right? We do this 3 times. And throughout each person who draws on it, I'll look at it and I'll make a little comment. But I don't make a comment about what they actually draw. I make a comment from memory about what my drawing looks like. It's almost like a miscall. Or it is a miscall, really. So I'll take it and I say, oh, you almost came off the page, or you got my finger. If you remember from our final drawing here, there is a line that comes off the page, right? Another thing I said is, oh, you looped around like a circle, that was good. So I just mentioned these little details that later on people can remember and latch onto, and it just confirms everything, right? So 3 times, 3 volunteers. After my third volunteer is drawn on the paper, as I'm walking back to the front of the room, I'm going to switch their drawing for mine. And to make this easier to see, I'll just put a line here. This represents the audience's drawing. Right? Let me go over to this side here. Very simply, as I'm headed back to the front, like this, as I'm walking, my right hand is going to lift that lower left corner of the Post-it note, and then I take it off. Ta-da! It doesn't even count as a move. I played around with a lot of really complicated switches, and the thing about this is I think this is kind of what this is a good example, I think, of the larger motion covering a smaller motion. The act of me walking back to the front is a large motion, and it covers the pull-off in terms of the attention that the audience gives it. Which means that if I walk slowly and do the switch, it just seems so fair. It doesn't seem like there's any room for any kind of sleight of hand. So I'll do it again. My last volunteer has drawn, and I start talking and I walk to the front, and I say, even though our drawing was created by people sitting in different parts of the audience, combined together, they've created something unique. Who missed it? Yeah, right? Okay. So the switch is done. The audience is now looking at my drawing. And because I asked my volunteers to close their eyes when they drew, and because I asked them to hold the pen in their non-dominant hand, and because I asked them not to draw anything specific, but to just let their hands wander, when my 3 volunteers look at the drawing at the end, each of them assumes that his or her contribution is just buried amongst the others on the page, right? And this, of course, I give the audience plenty of time to look at and memorize. Again, at this point, almost all of my hard work is done. There's a bit of an issue here that I'm still kind of playing with that I think is kind of interesting. If I were to take this drawing right after it was created, destroy it, burn it into pieces, and then immediately have it come out of that nest of envelopes, there's something about that almost seems, to my mind, or to my taste at least, a bit too impossible. It's a bit too perfect, right? Right off the bat. And so I feel like this trick can be made stronger if we psychologically set the audience up for what's coming. And I do that very simply. I burn the paper twice. But the first time I burn the paper, I fold it. And the only reason I fold it is because I want some people in the audience to suspect that maybe the paper that they watched burning in the wine glass wasn't really the drawing. Maybe I switched it somehow. Did anyone think that tonight? That's good. That's great. Now, magicians will think that in those words. Laymen don't think that. They don't think maybe he switched it, but they feel, they sense something. And that's important because the first time I burn it, whatever the revelation is, it's building to the nest of envelopes. So whether it comes out of my pocket or like tonight, I just pull it off the bottom of my shoe and open it up. I then burn it a second time, but the second time I burn it, I don't fold it all the way. I leave the drawing open, or as open as possible. I let the audience see the drawing as it burns away. And then I don't touch anything. It comes out of the envelope. There's no room, there's no chance for me to do any kind of sleight of hand or any kind of switches, and it just seems like a real miracle. And one of the interesting things in terms of feedback from a lay audience that I've got from doing this, they'll come up afterwards and they say something like, I don't have any idea how you got it into the envelope, but I think I know how you got it into your pocket. You know? And it's great. You know, I kind of feel like we lead them down the garden path a little bit, give them a false solution that's plausible for the first effect, but that sets them up. We sacrifice that first effect just a little bit. Not much, just a little bit, just to set them up for the nest of envelopes, which is really nice. Now, obviously, this is a technique. You could do so much with this. One of the things I've done theatrically, working in a theater, is I've suspended a clip over the third row of the audience. And there's a rope that comes down off to the side. So when it's time to do this effect, I'll take that envelope, I'll hand it to someone in the front row, and I say, sign your name on it, and then pass it behind you. While they're doing that, I walk over and I lower the clip down. It gets back to the third or fourth row. I have that person clip it to the clip, and then I raise it up, 5-6 feet above their heads. So it just stays there. And then at the end, when it's time for that revelation, I walk forward and just look up, and we had a spotlight that would just kind of pop on. And it's a really nice moment theatrically that makes it into a much longer routine. I have music that goes with that particular version. But if you are going to perform this casually in this kind of a setting, or like a living room, a dinner party, If you could sneak it into someone's pocket, into their wallet, if you could get it, I don't know, into the turkey, I don't know. There's many things that you could do. Are there any questions?
We do have some questions. Let's get those
grab the mic
microphones
and
out there. And here, we'll start with Nick's question up front, but give me the other microphone. I'll run it to the other side.
So I have two questions. The first one is, do you use, or does the expo marker help with like not bleeding through the paper as well, like when you draw? Okay, so you don't have to really worry about someone seeing the other drawing through, right?
Right. That's another thing. Yeah. In addition to not wanting the pen to bleed through on your computer screen, you don't want it to bleed through to the other side of the paper also. Otherwise, when you do that switch, you'll just have ink on both sides. It's a mess. And the audience might not notice, but the drawing won't quite look right. And so, yeah, you do want to make sure you have a pen that doesn't leak through.
The other question was, if you are at an event that doesn't allow like fire, what other like suggestions?
Oh, good. That's a very good. That's a good question. How often do you perform? Are you a pro? What are you doing?
I mean, I just whenever.
You're smart.
He's getting there.
Good. That is a good question, and I do have an answer. My answer is ask for forgiveness. No, I have done that often though, and I haven't had any problems. But the real answer to your question is what I'll do is I take a bunch of these Post-it notes and I'll just scribble on them, just nonsense, just lines, right? 4 or 5, 6, and then I tear them like this. And I take the torn pieces and I drop it into the cup. And I do enough to fill up, I don't know, maybe half the glass. It kind of depends on the wine glass, the shape of the wine glass. But as long as you have some torn pieces with ink on it, that's what you're going for. So that's the situation, right? We then do the whole trick. We have the audience create the drawing. We switch the drawing. We show the other side. Instead of burning it, I fold it. I do the same little thing like I've folded it up, but then I tear it. Tear it into pieces. And I drop the pieces into the glass, give it a little mix. And now it's kind of up to you. It depends on where you're going to make it reappear next. You know, if it's coming out of your pocket, you could do kind of one of these things. You know, it's just the magic moment. You're looking for the magic moment. The one thing I will mention that is fun, it's kind of knacky, but if this is one of the duplicate drawings that you've made from your computer, from tracing, you can actually hide it behind these in the wine glass. Right? Stay with me. So now, during the performance, right, you take the drawing, you tear it up, you sprinkle the pieces in, we'll see if it works. You pick the wine glass up and you just start to swirl. And the act of swirling that wine glass will cause the folded one to just pop up on top. And it's almost like it's they watched it visually restore, which is really cool. The thing that I don't like about that I can't get past, that I'm kind of stuck on, and maybe someone in here can help me with it. What are all the other torn pieces doing in there? That's where I kind of get stuck on that. If you're going to shake it and make it pop up and become whole again, why is there still a bunch of torn ones that hasn't happened to? And these are the kinds of silly things we have to think about when we're trying to create a magic trick that works, because it's all these tiny little details that really make a difference to a lay audience. You know, magicians don't care, but a lay audience will feel all of those little inconsistencies, and it just adds up to diminish, take away from the believability of the magic just a little bit. So that's a neat little fun thing that you can certainly play with.
Wayne,
Yeah.
one other kind of question, comment on the bleeding through of the drawing.
Yes.
You're not using standard yellow Post-it notepads, probably for that reason.
For the same reason.
I've messed around with them too. So this particular color's good. Have you experimented with other ones that are good?
I kind of like these darker purple or dark blue ones. Tend to work really well. These are Post-it Post-it brand Post-it notes. So I get these at Walmart. They're like $1. There's nothing special or hard to find about these from what I can tell. I've bought them all over the U.S. dark purple, dark blue with these wet erase pens works really well.
Cool. And then we've got some questions
Sure,
over here.
yes.
So,
Trick was with a signature. So if you were doing it with a signature, would you not? You wouldn't be fooling the person who signed it, would you?
Right. Well, see, that's the thing. That's Hollingworth's version is different. So his concept is the same, but his technique is much different, and it's a card trick, and he has very cleverly solved that problem. So for him, he brings the volunteer up on stage. They sit up on stage with him. They sign the card. They look right at it. He shows the audience. The audience memorizes it, and that's exactly what happens. It's really a smart solution to that problem, and if you are interested in learning that, I believe it's called a destroyed and reproduced playing card, and it's in his book, Drawing Room Deceptions. Just behind you. You pass the mic back to him back there. Yeah.
I have a question. Is there any way, if somebody actually does draw something specific, like if they're double-handed, would there be any way to really get out of that?
How old are you?
12.
12?
Yes.
Wow, that's a good question for someone your age. That's a fantastic question, and it does happen. So let me show you what I do. Would you jump up here real quick? This might be easier if you stand up. Thank you. So I'm going to give you the pen again.
Okay.
We don't have to take the cap off. But I hold the paper up like this, and I watch what my volunteer is drawing, right? And if they draw slow like this, I'll go ahead and let them draw for a little while. Now remember, their eyes are closed, so they're not looking. But if someone starts to draw really fast, I can't anticipate what they're going to do, and I don't know. So they'll get a couple lines in, and I'll pull it away, and I'll look at it, and I say, great, thank you. And I just move on. Yeah, that's what I did with you. Yeah. And the only reason is, again, because I didn't know. I didn't know what you were going to draw. Most of the time, I can see what people are drawing.
Kind of on the same lines.
Yeah.
Have the first person want to see it, or one of the people want to look at it.
No, but this is something that's relatively new. I started working on this trick maybe 3 years ago. And so I have a certain amount of experience working with volunteers. And I think one of the secrets to this that's really hard to talk about is audience management. You just can't do this kind of a trick if you're not good with spectators in the audience and being able to control those kinds of situations. So let me show you how this works. Again, if you take this, you can stay there this time. Maybe that's good. I'll come down, right? I hold the paper up. This is my first person. There's nothing on the paper yet. My volunteer draws. Their eyes are closed. Before they finish, I pull it away and I look at it, right? And now their eyes are opening now, so they don't see it at all. I say, that's great, thank you, and I move right on. I don't give them a chance to say, hey, wait a minute. It's my show, It's abstract, it's messy, you don't get to see yet. But I don't say that specifically, but that's kind of the attitude. As soon as I move away from my first volunteer, the pad goes palm down so nobody else can see it. I can keep it out, I keep it open, I'm not trying to hide it. I come to another volunteer. I give the instructions, hold the pen up. When I see that my volunteers close their eyes, close your eyes, that's when I lift the paper up, right, for them to draw on. So I'm watching my volunteers' eyes the whole time, and I'm paying very close attention to what it is that they're drawing on that paper. That actually brings me to an interesting thing I noticed. Two things really surprised me when I started working on this in front of a live audience. Because, it doesn't matter how much you prepare, practice, script, write. As soon as you get in front of a live audience, things tend to change. And one of the things that really surprised me about this is when my volunteer is drawing, it's surprisingly difficult for people sitting near or around my volunteer to see exactly what's going on the paper. Because you can see my fingers kind of curl around. We've got shoulders and arms that tend to get in the way. You might be able to see some part of it or be able to see the lines that go, but it's surprisingly difficult for people to see.
Yeah, I was trying to watch to see
right.
what she was drawing, but I couldn't see.
Right. And so what's interesting about that, though, is you guys might not see what she draws, but everybody else in the room assumes that you do. And that happens 3 times. So, especially for a larger audience, when I'm done and my 3 volunteers have drawn on the paper and I'm walking back up to the front to do the switch, there's an assumption, kind of an unspoken assumption in the audience that maybe a dozen people watched as this was made. It just seems way too fair for a switch to work. And again, it's one of those kind of unspoken things.
Yep, and I think we had another question.
Yeah, we had another question over here. Yeah.
Your point leads really good into my comment and my question, because my son Leon was the last person that you did. And I don't know if you noticed, but I was really looking closely.
I did see that.
You actually took your pad, just for the folks at home that didn't see this, you took your pad and you inclined it quite a bit, almost horizontal.
Yeah.
And you did something really interesting. I knew that something might have been up when you did that, but you let the tip of the pen still touch the paper. So I was like, oh, he let the pen, he's just, that's part of it.
It seems fair,
I saw the tip of the pen. But now Leon said something really interesting that I wanted to point out to you. It's kind of a question.
Sure.
He saw the design, and he said, that's my circle. Did you actually, when his eyes were closed, did you actually move the pad in a circular motion where he actually believed he drew something that he didn't draw?
This is fantastic, right?
He thinks he drew it.
Yeah, so this is great. I don't usually get to talk about all this stuff, so this is good. Psychologically, there are a lot of things that happen that make this really interesting to me. And this, again, is one of those things I figured out later on. Because I'm asking people to draw a scribble, it's all up for interpretation, right? You could say it looks like a circle, it looks like a fish, a turtle, whatever. No one's going to argue with you. It's your imagination. So, because I'm telling someone to draw in this scribble, and I'm reinforcing what they draw by making comments, I believe I said you drew a circle, right? I'm pretty sure he didn't actually draw a circle. I'm pretty sure when I looked at it, there was lines, but I don't think it was an actual circle. But again, your eyes are closed, the pad's face down. It's just hard to tell exactly what you draw. So I make this little comment: you drew a circle. Right? And then I walk away, and it's 60 seconds later, I go, oh, look, here's the circle. Who drew that? And that makes him go, oh, that was mine. And he owns it, And now he owns it. He's convinced that, yeah, I drew that circle. And I didn't really have to do much but talk, So, yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things that happen with this psychologically that make it all come together into this believable thing.
Now, when you started out with this, did you find that you had to modify your own scribble? Did you start out with one that had too much or too little, and then you found a good way to simulate what was going to happen?
The biggest, and I have several different versions of these scribbles that I'll use if I'm going into a venue that I'm performing at a theater for multiple nights. Each night it'll be a different scribble in case people come back. But one thing that's pretty consistent is most people, at some point, someone's going to draw off the page. And so my first several designs, for about the first year, I didn't have a line that went all the way to the end. And it became this kind of consistent, it wasn't consistent enough for me to really notice it at first, but occasionally someone would draw to the end and then remember it. Because you can feel that, even if your eyes are closed, you feel when you go off the paper. And so I did have a couple of people say, I thought I felt draw off the paper, but I didn't see my line. Yeah. And so for that reason, I do have a line on that drawing now that goes all the way to the edge. And if nobody does draw off the paper, I just tell them they did. I say, oh, you almost came off the paper. It's nice. You got my finger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just lie a lot, basically.
Did we have another question here?
Yeah.
Yep, right behind you.
Maybe more of a tangent, but I know a lot of times when you combine tricks, they can get more muddled and confused. But when you started this, the very first thing that came to my mind was the ashes on the arm.
Right.
Have you ever experimented with incorporating that in, or do you think that would just detract from it?
I don't know. I haven't experimented with it because it was not on my mind at all when I started working with this. And it wasn't until I started lecturing on this to magicians that someone pointed out, oh, you could have a reproduction of the drawing appear in ashes on your arm if you wanted to go that route. I thought, wow, it's really neat. And that has since kind of sparked an ongoing discussion with people. And one of the really interesting ideas for this is if you don't want to do a destroyed and reproduced kind of an effect, you can do a really cool prediction. So imagine that you were to do a presentation maybe for like a Halloween type show, and you talk about automatic writing. This thing back in the day where they would take mediums, people who could contact the dead, and they would go into a trance. And they would often hold the pen funny, and they would scribble, and they would get words and names and images and all sorts of stuff from dead people who are passing information along through. So you could theoretically write a presentation about some famous medium that did that. You could try to recreate automatic writing with your audience having them hold the pen like this, holding the pad down like they would do it in scribbling. And at the end, when you're looking at it, instead of destroying it and making it reappear, you pull out a really old newspaper article, about this medium. And on the front page or whatever, there she's holding a drawing, the same scribble that the audience just created. So it would take a little bit of Photoshop work and some, prop work to set that up, but that could certainly be strong and a completely different effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we had a question up front here, and then another one.
I've been here before, and, like a month ago, and I was up front with Dan.
Oh.
And every time...
And you came back? I'm joking.
Yeah. And he told me to pick a card and then show it to the audience by holding it up so that they'd see.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, after that first volunteer drew, I thought you'd put it up.
Oh, I would put it up. Yeah.
And
yeah,
I was,
of course, yeah.
I was like, oh, he didn't put it up, but I didn't think much about it till it was over and you explained it. But I was just thinking maybe some audience members might demand that you put it up and show people.
Well, I think it all depends on what the trick is. You know what I mean? Like if I pulled out the thread, for example, and had you guys holding the thread here, you wouldn't demand to inspect my eye before I started doing the trick, right? Because you don't know what's coming, and that's the important thing. After the fact, when you know what the trick is, it's really easy to go back and go, oh, I wish I could have seen, or what if he had. But when the audience doesn't know what's coming, you're just creating the drawing, and you show it when it's done. And I don't think, for me at least, that doesn't feel awkward. And I think it might have to do because I look at the drawing portion of this trick as one segment. That segment for me is not done until my third volunteer has drawn and I've done the switch. So I'm going through that, and that's my action, and then once it's switched, that's when I can relax and let people stare. And until then, and it's so hard to talk about this, but like in the back of my mind, I know my situation and I'm aware of it. And everything, my positioning, the angle that I hold the paper, the people that I choose, the seats that they're sitting in, how long I let them hold the pen, all of those things, those choices I'm specifically making to help with this deception. Yeah.
Cool. And then,
showmanship.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's another question back here.
Yeah, I actually brought my son Dylan and his little friend Andrew here. I'm not the magician, but after watching my son do this for a few years, I'm starting to pick up on that illusionist logic. And I kind of wonder what you would think of this if you had a final reveal that you added to this one more.
Sure.
If you had to scribble on your arm.
Yeah, and that's something, again, that I haven't experimented with too. I don't have enough data yet. Yeah. But what I have done is I've done it with 2 revelations, or 2 envelopes and 3 envelopes. So I've kind of played around with the number of envelopes, and I've seen that does make some difference. I feel like my gut instinct tells me if I were to destroy it and reproduce it once, destroy it and reproduce it twice, destroy it and reproduce it a third time, it's kind of old at that point. One time's amazing. Second time, people think, all right, I know what's coming, I'm going to watch. And if you nail it on that second time, I don't think it needs a third time. But that's probably has a lot to do with my style and how I perform. Yeah. So
maybe it also does change the through line. It's a real detour, isn't it?
It does.
To go from that physical to a more abstract, physical apparition of it.
Good words for that. Yeah. As soon as you go on the arm like that, it's not a destroyed and reproduced. What is it? Is it a transference of the information? Is it a? You have to kind of.
It would take some scripting work, but.
Right. It would take a little bit of imagination and scripting work, but yeah. Good idea.
Excellent.
We got some hands over here. Can I deliver this mic
absolutely.
here?
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. There you go.
I'm not sure how relevant the suggestion would be, but I think it would fit more. It's still an abstract representation of the reveal, but I think would fit more in line with the presentation you have. Would be using, as I'm aware, most arm ash routines use like a soap or some type of
glue
derivative.
Stick, soap,
if you
like
if you could coat a certain area of the glass with the same
that's
drawing,
interesting.
then you can burn it and then twist it with your reveal to decide when they get to see that. And that's probably going to be really knacky and take a lot of practice. But
It's an interesting idea, though, and just to throw an idea that way. If you wanted to take like a Q-tip and a little bit of liquid soap, I mean, you've got a drawing utensil. I don't know how hard it would be to kind of
No,
recreate.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, play with it. Email me if it works. Let me know.
I will do.
I like to know.
Yeah.
All right. If there are no more questions, are there no more questions? All right. That's what I've cleverly titled the Drawing to Impossible Location. Thank you very much. Thank you. What's your name again?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Jacob.
Jacob, are you willing to help?
Yeah.
Let's give Jacob a round of applause. Jacob, I brought you a present.
Sweet.
And I hope you like balloons. Will you stand on the X for me? Face forward. And I want you to hold on to this. Take a breath. I know this is a little strange, but I want you to take a breath and hold it for as long as you're comfortable. I know, right? Relax, relax. Take a deep breath. And breathe. That was a little bit. I think we can get it to go a little bit further, but let's try this with everyone. I want everyone to take a deep breath. Hold it for as long as you're comfortable. And breathe. Who's still holding their breath? I know you didn't expect a present, but this is for you to keep. You may have to hold it so the people behind you can see. Let's give them a round of applause. All good, thank you. No, I'll use it. I'll give it back after, I promise. But I'll use it for the explanation if that's all right. And I'm actually going to need your help for the explanation too. Can you just hang out right over here for just a minute? Excellent. This trick started off as an image and a question. I was brainstorming ideas for a show, and I had this image in my mind of bringing a small child up on stage, smaller than you, like a short, yeah, like that, good, a short little guy. And I just had this image of giving him a red balloon and putting a spotlight on him. There was just something kind of innocent, mysterious about that. But for the longest time, the question was, what happens next? And that's always the hard question. Eventually, this idea kind of came about, and through experimentation and playing with it for some time, I kind of worked it out. Let me show you the balloon here. Our balloon is tied to a little handle. This is for my volunteer to hold on to. This is actually just a drinking straw. It's just part of a straw, and I've clipped it so it's not too long, but it is long enough to stick out of both ends of my volunteer's hand while they hold it. All right? Now, the balloon is attached with a piece of ribbon here, and this will be important later. The ribbon is tied below the knot on the balloon. So the knot on the balloon is way up here, but that ribbon is tied down here at the bottom. And that's going to be important later on. That's just a little detail for now. So this is our balloon. The magic is accomplished, of course, using invisible thread. Surprise! To make this easier to see, I've got some visible thread. Do not use twine. So this twine here will represent our length of invisible thread, and I've got a little bit of magician's wax. Actually, that same wax from earlier, from that bill trick. A little bit of magician's wax right here onto the ends. I'm going to feed one end of the invisible thread up through the straw, and the way I do that is I use gravity, which is nice. Just make it easy. I'm going to grab that bit of wax, and this is going to come all the way up here, just behind the ribbon from the balloon, and I'm going to stick it right onto the knot or above the knot from the balloon. So if you look here, and this is quite a bit of wax to hold the twine in place. When using invisible thread, you certainly wouldn't need to use a gob of wax that large. But you can see that the wax, the knot on the balloon, they're up here, up high. The ribbon is tied down below. Okay. So that's our balloon. Typically, this is kind of a nice space. You know, it's always nice when you're working in a studio or a theatrical environment when you can get in and set up beforehand. But if you're going to travel to a gig and you don't know the situation that you're walking into, I'll make these up beforehand. I'll wrap the invisible thread right around the bottom part of my straw like this. And in this position, it's surprisingly portable. So I can put this in a car, I can walk around with it, I can travel to my gig with it, and then when I get to the venue, I will unravel the string. And I use a little bit of tape to position this or tape it somewhere just off stage, somewhere where I can get to it. All right? But the invisible thread hangs freely. Let me just put this here. I'll do the whole thing.
And Wayne, that twine is the length of thread that you would use?
Yeah, this is the length of thread that I would use. Perfect. I'll show you in just a minute how I choose the length.
Okay.
But this is my setup here. I get my volunteer. You want to help? Welcome back. Ta-da. My volunteer stands in the center. Normally, I do like to do this with kids. I'd like to get a small child up on stage. And there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is that kids are great to work with, I think. But if you find a kid who's a little bit shy, right? Not one of the kids that's like, choose me, pick me, I want to come. But one of the kids that looks like they might want to help. I look for the kids that raise their hand when I'm walking out into the audience, and as soon as they make eye contact with me, they go like this. Those are the kids I want. Because they want to help, but they're just a little bit shy. So then I'm really nice. I come over and I say, hi, how are you? What's your name? Are you enjoying the show? Hi, Jacob. That's good. Jacob. Yeah. I say, Jacob, I've got something really interesting that I want to show you, but I need some help. Do you want to help me real quick? Yeah. So I do that, right? I get the kid to feel comfortable. You do that really well. My volunteer stands center stage. When I go to retrieve the balloon, the first thing I do is I grab the little floating booger out of the air, that little bit of wax hanging from the invisible thread, right? And I stick it to my left thumb, so that when I come out to meet my volunteer, I'm in this position. And you can see that the invisible thread is running all the way down through the balloon and out here to my thumb. Now I'm holding the straw at the bottom, near the bottom, right? And what that's going to do is it's going to force my volunteer to hold it near the top. So the thread is now running all the way through his hand and out here to my thumb. As I talk to the audience, I just open my right hand like this. And I can feel the thread. I ask my volunteer to take a breath. If I turn my body like this and then separate my hands, I can pull the balloon down. And because my hands are moving away from each other, there's not much movement to perceive from the audience's perspective. Right? So it looks like I'm staying relatively still, yet the balloon is moving straight down. Right? So the first time it comes down just a little bit, and then I reverse the action and I let it come back up. And this twine is makes it a little bit harder. Invisible thread, it's much smoother, right? Okay. So that's the first time. The second time, I ask the entire audience to hold their breath. And the second time, I bring it down a little bit further. And then when I ask everyone to breathe, I let it come about halfway back up. Come on. And then I stop. I look at the audience for a minute and I say, who's still holding their breath? And I let the invisible thread slip off my right thumb. And the balloon jumps back up like the last person breathed, right?
That's cool.
Originally, that was just like a joke. It was a gag that I put in the script for this thing. And the very first performance, this was in Chico at one of the theaters there. I did this during the show, and this lady comes up to me afterwards. I'm signing autographs, and she says, I was the one holding my breath longer. And it's surprising how many times since I've heard that comment. That's become kind of a common comment to hear. So, it's this nice little fun moment, but it does, for some people, create a connection. And you can imagine, if you're sitting in the audience holding your breath, watching this thing happen. You keep holding your breath, and then when you finally let it out, the balloon pops the last little bit of way up. That's got to be weird. That's got to be really weird.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you remember from the setup, we put the invisible thread above the knot on the balloon, but the ribbon we put down here below the knot. Here's why. When the trick's done, here's the action. I say, this balloon's for you to keep, but you're going to have to hang on to it so the people sitting behind you can see the rest of the show. All right? That's the idea. As I say that, I take my middle finger here, my third finger, and I wrap it right around the, what would you call that?
The, nipple? Why not?
Yeah, right on. Why not? So, man, I love Ohio.
Navel, that's...
The navel, the balloon navel. That's good, whatever. I like nipple. We're going to stay with nipple.
We're staying with nipple, yeah.
So you're going to wrap your finger around the nipple of the balloon.
And pull that wax right off.
Yeah. With your thumb and your index finger, I'm going to pinch the wax on the balloon. So I'm going to pinch above the knot. This is kind of hard for me to do slow, so let me just hold it up here, get into position. So you can see that my middle finger here is wrapped all the way around the nipple, but my thumb and index finger are up here at the top. I'm going to hold my middle finger as tightly as I can, and then I'm going to extend my thumb and index like this. And you can see that stretched the nipple of the balloon between my fingers here, right? And you can also see what's happened. The thread has popped off. Because the balloon stretches, but the invisible thread will just break right at the top.
So this is not invisible elastic you're using then?
No, I don't use the invisible elastic. You don't want it to stretch too much for this. So what I do is I hand my volunteer the balloon, and as you walk back to your seat now, watch what happens to the thread. Go ahead. As my volunteer leaves the stage, the thread stays on my finger, which means that they have a balloon that they can keep and examine, and I just get rid of this whenever it's convenient. And that's a trick I call helium. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good question. He asked what kind of invisible thread that I use. And there are a lot of great kinds of invisible thread out there. Since I was a kid, I've used what's called woolly nylon. Who uses that here? Yeah. So woolly nylon is very cheap. You can buy a big spool of it for like $5 at a craft store. Black. I use black. But the spool that I bought like 15 years ago is the same spool I'm still using today, because this is a black thread that's made up of a bunch of individual invisible threads. I should put those words in different order next time. So you strip out the invisible thread as you want to use it. The reason why I like using that, even though it's cheaper than some of the stronger threads you can use, is because I know the tension strength. I've been using it for so long, I can feel when I'm pushing it too hard, and I can tell when it's getting close to that breaking point. And so for that reason, I've kind of stuck with the same thread over the years. Yeah.
I guess it's not like a huge deal for the kid, but have you ever had someone comment like with the wax, or does the wax stay on the balloon?
On the balloon, all right. That's a good question, because you just saw me put a giant glob of wax on that balloon, and I'm sure you're wondering, isn't he going to see the wax? When you use invisible thread, you don't need to use nearly that much. I use a tiny bit, and if you... let me see the balloon again, actually. Let me just show you this real quick. Very nice. I'll show it here for the camera, but if you take a look at the knot here at the very top, if I pull that down a little bit, you can see that there's a little bit of room. I can kind of stick it in those, right in whatever that, those little valleys are there, right? Yeah, so the under nipple, thank you. That was the right... Oh man, what's happening? So I push it right there at the top, and it's so small you would just never notice it. If you are concerned or worried that someone's going to really inspect it and see a bit of wax and think, aha, wax. Just tie it. It's a little bit harder, but you can just tie the end of the invisible thread around it, or use a little tiny bit of Scotch tape if you think it's more invisible. But in my experience, nobody's looked at the knot. I mean, they're looking at the handle, they're looking... It's kind of neat. I love walking out into the lobby afterwards, and I see people around the balloon, like, holding it up to the light. You know? Yeah, right? Yeah, just trying to see there's got to be something in there. So, yeah, but I haven't had an issue with people finding the wax. Yeah. Any other questions over in this area? Grab a mic. You got it.
Yeah, my question's for Jacob. Did you feel any tugging at all?
With the twine, yes.
With the twine? No.
At the very end I did, but I had a feeling it was thread too, so I was actually scared when I approached the thread.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I was like, ah.
You know, it's interesting. Doing this for magicians has really been a unique experience for me because laymen do not know about invisible thread. And if you think about this trick from the standpoint of the audience, it's not a levitation, right? They're never watching an object floating, right? So that string that comes down, the balloon string, ends up hiding and disguising the invisible thread a little bit. But I've never had a layman concerned about thread. When I started lecturing on this and talking to magicians, I would have some magicians that would assume thread was involved somewhere, and so they would... But let me show you. I always make a second balloon, just in case. And so I've got a backup one here. I want to grab it real quick. So, would you put that mic down and join me real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Right up here to the center.
And I've never heard of invisible thread. So.
Excellent. Well, good. I want you to hold this. Hold it in your other hand. Hold it with your left hand. Face forward. So this is all hooked up with the invisible thread, and you can't see it, but it's coming all the way down through your hand. And if I pull it down now, you'll notice you don't feel anything, right?
No.
It's because it's being pulled straight down, and it's so light, there's just not really enough tension.
Oh, I see it now.
Right? There it is.
That's visible thread.
And now it becomes visible thread, right? And that, actually, we're just going to hit all the details on this. Occasionally, those of you that work with invisible thread know that lighting can be a real issue. Stage lights, specifically.
Yeah, it's black.
Yeah, right? But if you, I don't know, the lighting in here is pretty good, but occasionally you can kind of catch a glimmer of it.
Right. It
So,
doesn't look black there.
Right. If you're in a situation where you've got really harsh stage lights, and this has happened before, where I did a test beforehand and I could tell that my volunteer was going to be able to see the thread, I came up with a neat little solution. I was in Australia, and I brought a guy up who was maybe 17 or 18, but older than I would have liked, who, as soon as he got on stage, he became a bit more animated, started showing off for some friends maybe. I don't know if he had a few drinks. I don't know. But it was that kind of a situation for this trick. And I could tell that the energy was just wrong. So what I did is I said, look forward. I want you to take a deep breath. And I just want you to imagine the balloon in your mind. And I want you to imagine the balloon getting heavier. So for my volunteer on stage, their eyes stay closed the whole time. And it's just an imagination thing. And it's an effect for the audience to experience. And so I've only used that a couple of times. Most of the time I'll be able to get the lighting right. But if you're in a pinch, you can do that.
You have to shift gears.
Yes. Thank you very much for coming up. Yeah. Yes.
You carry helium with you everywhere you go.
I do. Let me. Not everywhere, but let me show you this. Yeah. No, I don't try to fly with helium. But this is a product called Balloon Time. It's a little pink helium tank. And the reason why I wanted to pull this out and show you is because these are available all over the world. I haven't had any problem finding these all across the U.S., all across Europe. Here in the States, you can get these at Walmart, Target, Toys R Us. They're usually somewhere between $20 and $30, and it comes with enough helium to fill up 30 to 40 balloons. So if I'm doing a tour and I'm driving and I'm traveling, I will absolutely get one of these tanks and just carry it with me. If I'm flying in for like one-off gigs, I'll have it in my rider for them to have a propane tank for me at the show. Or, and this might be a simpler solution for some of you, find a grocery store that has a flower section. They sell balloons there. So you could theoretically go in and just ask them to blow up 2 or 3 balloons at a time and then go to your show or whatever and not have to get a whole helium tank. Yeah. Any other questions?
Have you ever had the problem of somebody trying to grab the balloon?
Oh, have I ever had the problem of someone trying to grab it? No, but that's been a big concern of mine, that while the balloon's set up at whatever the event is, someone will touch it or mess with it. And that's why I always set up a second balloon. I have it nearby, but in a slightly different location. I learned this the hard way. As I mentioned, that's how I learn everything. I was doing a show and I had my balloon set up. It was a slightly different area here, but I watched one of the stagehands walk by right before the show. Like literally, they're introducing me. My introduction's being read. And he walks by and just tosses his jacket through the area that my invisible thread was. And I saw it just break. Ladies and gentlemen, Wayne Houchin. Yeah, so I learned that it's nice to have a backup. And since then, I've only needed that backup once. And it wasn't because anyone tried to grab it or mess with the balloon. But I went to grab it during the show, and as I was pulling away from the wall, it snagged. And it just broke. I felt it break. I put it right back. I had another one over here. I grabbed it before my volunteer was up on stage. The audience never knew. Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. Get the mic.
Well, if it broke, what was your excuse for getting another balloon?
I didn't need an excuse. It's because I wanted to use the other balloon. I leave it at that.
When your spectator walks off stage with a balloon and you have a thread attached to your thumb, what exactly do you do with it to get rid of it?
Oh, that's a good question. Like at the very end? So, it really kind of depends on the show. For me, I wait until there's an off moment, like an off beat, and then I just remove it. So that's kind of a knacky thing to describe, but I think the practical way, the best way to describe that to you is to say that when I finish this trick, there have been times where I'll perform a whole nother trick like this, just with invisible thread here, until there's an applause moment or there's enough of a relaxation that I can justify getting rid of it. I just wait until it feels right, until it feels like people aren't staring at me, which is hard when you're in front of an audience and they're staring at you. So, magic, it's hard, you know.
Any other questions out there?
Okay.
Well, actually, I do. I've got a couple of follow-up things. I noticed an extra piece of tape on the wall there. Is that to indicate where the booger is?
Man, you were so good. You were so good. Let's just go through all my little tricks.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of tape here, and that's just this length of invisible thread's a little bit shorter.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, but that's just so when I'm walking up to it, I can
I can see the other floating booger, and you would move the tape up there.
And one of the things I'll do, actually, I did it back there because the lighting's not as good, so I put that tape just like as a backdrop for the little booger so I could see right where it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just do that so I know.
Cool. And then you mentioned how to measure out the length. We saw it in use there, but what do you do to guarantee it?
So what do I do to guarantee it?
Well,
That's
to
a really
make the
great
length
question.
each time, yeah.
So what I do, will you help actually?
Yeah, sure.
Just come over here and hold this for me. I'll show you what I did this with my wife, Fran, earlier. So hold it with your left hand. And what I do, I get to the spot where I feel comfortable standing, the distance that I feel comfortable standing away from my volunteer, if that makes sense. So sometimes, if I've got a longer bit of thread, I'm way out here, and it's just weird to stand this far away. It seems unnatural. And so for me, it's just my own personal comfort for spacing and bubbles is about here, and I like how the thread feels at this length too. It feels really good, it feels really strong, I don't feel like I'm pulling on it too hard. I don't know what's happening exactly, but I think the more invisible thread that you have, if it was like this long, for example, there's more thread to stretch just a little bit. And so there ends up being a lot more give. I have to move a lot more, it feels like, to get the balloon to respond. So it's just I've found this nice area. It's whatever about this distance is. Yeah.
No, but when you, what I'm asking is when you strip out the length.
Right.
You know,
do
you just already have it pre-cut with all of the things, or how do you know
I've
what
got a little
length
spool.
to set it up?
I take a length that's way too long.
Yeah.
I take it to the gig or whatever, and then I'll do this and I'll shorten it. So I'll take this if I need to shorten this. Just like that same kind of folding the thread technique we did earlier.
Yeah.
I just roll the invisible
Just kind of
thread
do it yourself in your own hands. And
to kind of figure that out. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, of course. Any last questions on this before we move on? All right, that's a trick I call helium. Thank you very much. And a balloon. It still has the invisible thread on it, so yeah. Let's see. Who has some change that I can borrow? I want to show you something kind of neat, but anyone have a pocket full of change? Who said that? Mary does. And we've got some. What do you have? Got this quick. Wow, you like to play arcade games? Right on.
What do you want?
No, a dollar might be. What do you got? Let's see. Oh man, you do. All right. Well, we're gonna. I think. Whoops. Sorry.
Sorry. You want smaller dimes and nickels?
Let's see. Yeah. You know what?
It's a quarter.
Yeah, you got a lot of cash here. That's good.
I got a couple dimes and a nickel.
You got a couple dimes and a nickel. You got some change here. What was your name again?
Mike.
Mike, you know what? You take the nickel and let me give you a pen. Mike, do me a favor. Will you put your initials on both sides of that coin for me? And I just want to ask you, we didn't set anything up beforehand, right? All right. And while he's doing that, I saw this. That soda, unopened, yeah? Yeah. Can I steal that?
Sure.
Sprite. Excellent. Oh, that's cool. Here, let me show them what you did there. You have fancy initials. MS. Mike, will you take a look at this can for me? Sprite. Do you drink Sprite?
Sure.
Yeah, it's not opened, yeah?
Nope.
If we take your coin and the can, if I slam, I can make it look like that coin disappears. Sometimes you can hear it. And I want you to see, Mike, there's nothing on the bottom of the can. And the top of the can, still sealed. Let me see if I get it towards the bottom. Can you hear that? I just shook it up a little bit. And I do need to open it. It's not too bad. If we pour the Sprite out, inside the can is more Sprite. Inside the can is a coin. Can we zoom in on that? What do you see on that coin, Mike?
My initials.
Your initials, your coin. Mike, you can keep the can with your coins stuck inside. That's for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're making a mess tonight. So, grab this. How many of you have read, I'm just curious, Michael Amar's book, his Big Green Book? Good, a couple of you, all right. It was one of the books that I had when I was growing up in magic. And when I was 17 or 18 years old, I was just out of high school, I read an essay that he has in that book. I think it's called Making Magic Memorable. Yeah? One of the ideas that he talks about in this essay is the idea of borrowing something from someone in the audience, using magic to change that object, and then giving it back to them and letting them keep that in its new magically changed state. And when I read that, at the time I was working on the classic coin and bottle, using a gimmicked folding coin. And the first thought that popped into my head when I read that was, wouldn't it be cool if you could borrow a coin from someone, take a small little glass bottle, pop that coin inside the glass bottle, but then instead of magically taking it back out, as is traditionally done. What if you left it inside and just gave it to them as a souvenir? But then it's like, I thought, well, they would have to know it was their coin. Otherwise, this is where the music starts for the... No, so I started going to the store, and what I would do is I'd buy little hot sauce bottles, tiny little bottles. I'd take them home, soda bottles, anything I could find that I thought would be about the right size. And I would try to see if there was some way that I could sneak a coin in where it would be really difficult for it to come back out. I broke a lot of glass. I didn't have any luck with the glass, but I did have an interesting discovery with a can of soda. I was leaving the store one day. This is when I was looking for sorry, my mic just came undone. Let me fix that. All right. So I was leaving the store one day, and this is when I was looking for hot sauce bottles. Didn't see anything new. I was leaving the store, I saw a 6-pack of Sprite. So I thought, well, maybe there's something interesting there. I took it home, and within about half an hour, I had the very first version of this trick worked out. And the first version looked like this. I would take the coin and the can, and I would slam it inside, and I would say, if you're quiet, you can hear it inside the can. And I would let it rock back and forth, right? Because that's what's happening here. This first move, my first little discovery was that if you take a coin and slam it against the bottom of a can, it'll balance on that back edge, right? So I would say if you're quiet, you can hear the coin inside. I would then immediately open the can. Inside would be the signed coin. And that was the first version of the trick. I did that for some time, I don't know, maybe a year or two before I started adding little moves here and there to make it a bit more deceptive. And it was that process that eventually ended up with the full routine. And we'll go through it. So the first thing I'll mention here right at the start is not all cans are created equal, because the mouth on the opening is a little bit different on each can, depending upon where they're made. We're going to cover that later, but I just want to mention it now at the top. The coin I'm using right now is a nickel. The first thing that I'm going to do is slam the nickel against the can. And as I've shown here, it balances on that back edge. There is a bit of a knack to this, all right? So the first thing that I do is I slam it, and then I show my left hand empty, and I grab the can like this, and I bring my right hand away, but I keep my fingers curled just a little bit, because I want people to suspect, well, maybe it's in his other hand, right? So I keep my fingers curled for just a moment, and then I open them to show that it's gone. That's the first part of the routine. The second part, let me show you what it looks like actually before I teach it. The second part looks like I take the can and show the top, the bottom, all sides. It looks like the coin is just gone. Here's what's happening. We're in this position. I open my right hand. As I open my right hand to show that it's empty, I tilt the can straight up. And from this angle, hopefully we'll be able to see. As I tilt that can up, the coin falls into my palm, and then I trap it in between the can and the palm of my hand. And I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay? So that's the position, all right? In a continuing action, I take my right thumb and I press that coin against the can. My left thumb then takes over, and notice that I position my left thumb right at the top of the nickel. And I start to turn like this. Okay? And I'm just turning the can. And that coin is stuck right at the back. Now there's a neat little perceptual thing that's happening here that helps. Do you remember the old trick? If you take like a napkin and crumple it into a ball and stick your thumb into the center of the napkin and then open your hands like this, it kind of looks like the napkin's floating, right? Because your thumb's going straight towards the audience. Something similar happens here. I'm pressing that coin against the can with my left thumb, but from the front, as I turn the can, you see my right hand open all the way up, you see my left fingers open, and my thumb is still touching the back of that can. But it creates the impression, especially when I'm doing it fluidly, that there's no way that I could be hiding anything, right? because it seems like both hands are letting go. I mentioned previously that when I press my left thumb against the coin, I put it at the very top. And the reason I do that is so that after I turn the can a few times, I can flip it upside down. I can point the bottom of the can right at my volunteer's chest. And because of the position of my thumb, it'll hide the coin from view. You can see what happens if I angle it too low. So it's just a little flash, and it creates the impression that everyone sees the other side of the can as well. And I do that with the top and then again with the bottom. Okay? So again, let me do that and catch you up. Here's what that looks like from the front. I show my hand empty. I show my right hand. The coin falls into my palm. I trap it. I press that coin against the can with my right thumb and immediately hand it off to the left, like this. And that happens as I'm simply turning the can. Okay? Nothing on the bottom. Nothing on top. And now the next part. This is a nice moment. This is left over from that early version when I would rock the can, right? And I would let them hear the coin apparently inside. But my technique's a little different. I start shaking the can like this and I say, I really want you to be able to hear it. If I get it towards the bottom, watch. And as I'm shaking it, my left thumb just slides the coin up the back of the can and puts it right up on top. And then I back my thumb off it just a little bit so that as I shake it, the coin just taps the top of the can, right? But from the front, I'm in this position and I'm listening. Now the sound of the coin tapping combines with the sound of the soda inside, and it really does create the audible illusion that there's something inside the can. Okay? So I then move to this position, and this is very fair, very open. The coin is still right up on top of the can, but I'm keeping it angled back towards me. It allows me to have this nice open display. And now the last part. We need to get the coin inside the can. And this is very simple. I do this at the moment that I open the can. All right? But there's so much attention on me right now because I've been asking everyone to look at the can. I want to break the tension that's built just a little bit before I do the secret move and get the coin inside the can. And I do that by making a joke. I say, I've just shook this can up and I do need to open it. Right? And I take a few steps towards someone. It always gets a laugh. I don't need much, just enough to say I'm just kidding. And by the time the audience has finished their little laugh and all of their attention has come back to me, the secret move's done. And here's what happens. Let me grab a can that's... I got this one. Yeah, thank you. That way we don't make a mess. We are in this position, but of course the can is unopened. When I'm ready to open it and do the move, my right thumb is going to slide the nickel up so it's right on top of that tab that I have to lift up on, right, to open. It slides right up on top, and you can see the coverage from my fingers. There's nothing to see, right? Even if someone was trying to peek right over at you, but you're typically in this position here. As I open that can, the tab angles just like a little slide, a little chute. It angles perfectly to allow the nickel to slide right down inside. And the sound that that makes, of course, is obscured by the that the soda makes. It all happens at the same time, right? So now I pour the soda out, and then I shake it to the opening to have the initials verified. The really fun thing about this, a couple of things actually. It's impromptu, right? You can borrow everything. You can borrow the coin, you can borrow the soda, which means you can do it in a really impromptu way and create a really nice magical moment. It can be at a barbecue, at a party. It can be completely off the cuff. But the great thing about this is when you put the nickel in, you're angling it at the right angle to slide perfectly down into that opening. It's more difficult to get it to line up right with the hole to come out when it's bouncing around inside the can. So the line that I use, I say you can keep the can with your coin stuck inside. I don't tell them your coin will never fit through the hole. I don't say that. I just say you can keep it with your coin stuck inside. Most people, in my experience, take it, and they become convinced that it's stuck inside. And I know people who've taken it home who still have it at home with their coin inside, and they tell their friends, "The magician stuck it in there. I have no idea." So that's a trick I call the coin in soda can. It's also known as sinful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, first question is, do you use any other coin besides a nickel? I know you prefer it, right?
Good question, right? So let me jump right in. I wanted to mention at the very beginning of this trick, I mentioned that not all cans are created equal. Here's why. For obvious reasons, you need the opening of the can to be large enough to let the coin you're going to use slip inside. Right? You can imagine how it might play out if your coin was too large. It might be awkward. Experience. So, yeah, I used to do this with quarters, was the thing.
They changed the tooling and made it smaller.
What I found is that it's regional. So to give you an example, a can of Sprite in Northern California will work perfectly with a quarter. It'll let a quarter fall right in. But if I drive an hour and a half south to Sacramento, a can of Sprite there won't work. The opening's a little bit too small. I think it's because depending upon the region that you're in, they have different tools, different companies that they're outsourcing making the cans to. I don't know how it works, but it does vary. So what I started doing is here in the States, I started using a nickel. I've never had a problem with a nickel fitting inside a can here in the States. I've done this all over the world. And when I get into a new country and I'm not sure what's going to work, first thing I do is I get my hand on some coins. I hit up a gas station, and I stand there with coins at the gas station, and I just look at cans, and I just visually look, and it really doesn't take long. It's not hard to kind of know what your good brands are, and then you know. So I think if you're going to be performing this in your town, you're performing in your area, you're going to know which cans to use and which cans to avoid. If you're traveling, it just means a little bit of homework before you do it at your performance.
Mm-hmm. Did you? We'll get some questions about it. Let me ask one. Did you set him up with the?
Okay, yeah. So I did that on purpose. I was going to mention it. One of the things that makes this so strong is that it can be impromptu. You can do it in someone's house or at a party. But if you want to do it in this kind of a theatrical setting, it's a relatively formal show. One of the things that I'll do is before the show, this is exactly what I did today. I say, "Hey, what's your name?" Phil, good to see you, Phil. Phil, I'm going to be doing the show later. I've got a trick that I'm going to do with this can. Will you check it out for me? Make sure it's normal. Make sure it's still sealed. Don't let anyone touch it. Right? I'm going to use it later. That happens before the show. So now I can do the show, and whenever I want to create the moment, I say, "Who's got some change?" And I borrow some change, and I go, "Oh, I see the can there. That's not opened, right? Can I steal that from you? You mind? Right on. Thank you." To the audience, it seems like I just borrowed a can of soda. I just stole it theatrically, right? Here, let me have your soda, and then I do this trick with it. But to him, it seems like this is the thing he told me about. Yes, here, you can have it. But you certainly don't have to do that. I've also done it where, I've had the can right up here, and I just go right into it with the can. Because at the end, you're giving it away. So there is that where you're ending and you're saying, look, there's nothing to find.
Yeah. All right. Any questions here? I've got lots of them. Let's start over here.
When you are on a stage, don't you need to take the coins out after so that the audience and everybody to see that is actually the same coin?
Absolutely. So, for obvious reasons, I think I love it when they just take it home and they don't try to take the coin out. But occasionally, I'll have people that will take out a knife and they'll cut it open. Because they will swear, there's no way that's actually my coin. There's no way that's my signature. And they will want to rip that out until they find it. Theatrically, it does make sense if you're performing, especially for a large audience, like in a full theater, and you're utilizing screens for the magic, and I've done that before. It does make sense to pull the coin out and have it examined. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. The wonderful Dean Dill, who passed away not too long ago, shared an idea with me years ago that's really smart. What he would do is after he had the initials verified, he would shake the coin to the mouth and he would grab a pair of pliers. he would reach in and he would get the coin with the pliers, but he would also grab a little edge of the can so that as he pulled the nickel or the coin free, it would tear open the mouth of the can, creating the impression that it was much too large to actually fit through, right? And makes it harder to reverse engineer. So that's a really nice touch. Another thing, Dan, will you come up and just do the thing you did earlier?
Yeah, you bet.
This is awesome. Check this out. Here's what you can do.
All right. So be careful when you do this. These things are very sharp, but you just flatten it like that, and then wiggle it back and forth, and it'll break. That's the sharp part. Then you can tear it open, keep your fingers away from it, you're a magician, and then just dump it out.
Yeah, drop it on the table.
Yeah, on the table or into their hands, however you want to do it. But
yeah, that's
this, great. Don't leave this with anybody.
That
Don't give
dangerous.
it to them as a souvenir. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Throw that out right away. Yeah.
And the last thing I'll mention, can I borrow your can again real quick? Thank you. There's a wonderfully talented magician named Chad Juros, who I met at Sorcerer. You know Chad? I met Chad at Sorcerer Safari Magic Camp up in Canada years ago. He came up with this great little subtlety at the end. If you don't want to remove it, and you do want to give them the can and let them keep it inside, if you look at the opening of the can like this, in order for the nickel, for the coin to come through, it has to be kind of parallel to the. It can't be up and down like this. It's got to be parallel like this to come out, right? So what Chad does is right as he's handing the can to his volunteer, he holds the can like this and he just gives it a squeeze. So this puts a bottleneck here. And you can see that with this bottleneck, in order for the coin to fit through that bottleneck, it has to be facing the wrong direction to fit through the hole. So it just adds another layer of difficulty in trying to get it out. It's really clever. It's really smart. Yeah. Any other ideas? Yeah.
So you talked about doing this like in an informal setting.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like angles would be important because you've got, I mean, when you did it the second time, the nickel blends right into the bottom, but when you've got those initials on there, so do you, how do you not flash that if you're dealing in a more informal setting?
So your angles with this are actually, they're pretty good. It's like it's all this here that's bad. So for example, if you're my target, if you're the one I'm doing it to, I'm going to do it here, or I'm going to angle as far this way, but I'm not going to angle this way. Does that make sense? So I can angle it this way, and now this is my bad angle. As long as I'm aware that there's no one there, that's fine. And as soon as I get into here, all of a sudden now I can turn and I can walk and I can look at the rest of the audience because it's completely covered at this point. So there are a couple of moments in the routine, and this is certainly, I think, probably one of the worst, where you have an angle issue that you need to be aware of. But I found just by angling the body a little bit, it's usually fine to fix that on the fly. I did have maybe I'll save it for the interview later. I don't want to take up time now, but you can ask me about doing the coin and soda can on the Today Show. I've got a funny story about that.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
And do we have other questions over here? If you can pass it right behind you.
This is just one comment. I've tried that before, and I noticed also sometimes with the first part, the lips on the bottom have a different angle.
Right. Oh, good. Very good. Yeah, I forgot about that. Another little thing that can sometimes vary between cans, besides the size of the opening, is the lip on the bottom here sometimes is a little bit more sloped instead of a straight ledge, and the coin will just slip right off. So it's another one of the reasons why you want to test beforehand. Otherwise, you end up, doing it like that, and it's just not as good. So.
Anybody else over here?
I was wondering if you've ever had the problem of whenever you take out a soda can and then there's the water. Have you ever had that problem?
The condensation on the can.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. How old are you again? Man, it's a smart 12-year-old. Yeah. So for that reason, I prefer to avoid cans that are cold. If you have a warm can of soda, it's totally fine. If it's cold, you can have the condensation that'll build up, which makes it slippery. But also, maybe even worse than the slipperiness is it's just cold. Feeling the cold on your fingers when you're trying to do sleight of hand makes it significantly more difficult. So, yeah, good question. Again.
Do if someone were to just hand you a can of soda that you see wouldn't work for that particular effect?
That's happened. So that totally happened to me. Someone handed me, this was years ago. I was just starting to figure out that I was just starting to travel more. So I was seeing that not all cans worked. And I was in San Diego and I was at a friend's house and one of his friends was there. And he'd never seen me do magic. So he said, my friend's been telling me about this coin trick that you do with the soda can. Here. And he hands me a can. And I don't remember what the can was. I think it was a beer can. It was maybe Budweiser or something. And those cans are different. And I could tell looking at it that the coin wasn't going to fit. And I hadn't thought to use a nickel yet. Right? It seems like that should be so obvious, but it took me so long to figure out. I don't know why that took so long. But I could tell if you have, here, I'll just show you. You have a ton of quarters. Let me see. I noticed that when I was looking for my nickel. You were expecting this trick, weren't you? So if I have a can, maybe if I turn this way, you can zoom in on it there. I can tell, I know that this isn't going to fit in there, but it's going to get close. If you apply a little bit of pressure when you open it, you can force it in. You just have to be aware that that's what's going to happen. Right? It's not pretty, but it is possible. With enough misdirection with this joke, with standing back and tilting it a little bit, with maybe even giving the can a little bit of a squeeze as you open it so it sprays a little bit, kind of like Fizzmaster, right? That gives you plenty of cover to get that in. And that's certainly what you can do. The problem arises, yeah, you shake it more, there you go, yeah. And then everyone's blinded by the soda in their eyes. No, you're right. The problem arises when you expect it to fall in and it doesn't. And now you have several completely different actions. The first to open, the oh no it didn't, and then the struggle to get it in. If you know it's going to be a problem beforehand, you can usually cover it pretty smoothly. But just use a nickel,
So is that what happened when the guy handed you the can?
Yeah,
you had to force it in?
I did that. I forced it in. Yeah. It was great. He was fooled, so I don't know.
No, lucky for you that you were able to, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the fun with this kind of impromptu magic is, in a sense, a lot of times it can be like jazz. Yeah. You're presented with a new problem and you have to solve it on the fly.
Yeah. We have a question all the way on the other side. Do you have a microphone over there?
There we go.
From all your experience in doing this trick, have you noticed any diminished response from when you switched from a quarter to a nickel? Like,
not at all.
Does the smaller coin get the same response?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Because in the eyes of the audience, they don't know what the effect is, and that's the other thing to remember. Oh, that has soda in it. That's the other thing to remember with this. There's two effects that are possible, really. The first magic effect is you borrow a coin and have it signed. You borrow a sealed can of soda and you put it inside, sealed. The second effect that's possible is you do all that, but you do it with a coin that's too large to even fit through the opening. And in my experience, a lay audience does not care. They don't really care. It's inside. I've watched them open it up and pull it out. I've watched them, work at it and shake it until they pull it through the opening and look at it, and they don't seem to care at all that they just pulled it straight through the opening. So I think to them the effect is he took my coin, the can was sealed. I saw it, I checked it, it was sealed, and somehow he got it in. I don't know how. And that is the effect, Yeah. Good question. Any others? All right, guys, that's a signed coin and can. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone like a warm soda that's had a coin in it? It's fine. Just put it over here. Let's move this up. Bear with me while I clean up some of my mess here. All right. I have something kind of unusual that I want to try. It's a little bit different than some of the things we've been doing because I think it's a bit more psychological based. I want to get someone from back over here. What's your name, sir?
I'm Joe.
Joe. Nice to meet you, Joe. Joe, are you a magician, Joe?
I do some magic, yes.
You do some magic. That counts.
Yeah.
What kind of magic are you interested in? What do you like generally?
Mostly cards.
Excellent. Come on up here. Let's give him a round of applause. That's good. I would like to show you something with some cards, so this is going to work out nice.
Great.
Right over here, Joe. What do you do for a living? Are you a full-time professional magician, or?
No.
Okay. What do you do? I'm just curious.
I work for the phone company, AT&T.
Right on. When you went to college, what did you study? Like, what were you interested in?
I studied marketing.
Okay.
Business.
We're going to try something with cards. This is interesting because it's a little bit more of a timing thing. So the first thing that I want you to do is just select one. No force, touch anyone you like. You want to change your mind?
No.
Go ahead and push it out. I don't want anyone else to see yet, so if we can ask the cameras not to project this up, but will you just take a quick little peek there so you know what it is?
Yes.
You got it?
I do.
You're not going to forget it?
I'm not.
I'm going to leave it right off to the side here for just a minute. And I think before we go on, I need to get an idea of kind of how you think. So stand behind the cards there. And are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
All right, hold out your right hand like this. One finger, good. Do you see the shadow of your finger on the 7 of spades right now?
I do.
In a minute, I'm going to say go. And when I say go, I just want you to slowly move the shadow of your finger all the way across the spread over to this end.
Okay.
All right. Take a deep breath. Go. All right, let's do it again. Come a little bit closer down here and go just a little bit slower. Go ahead. All right. I'm going to put your card back in the deck, but I don't want you to see where. So just stare at the wall here for just a minute. The audience will keep me honest. You remember your card?
Yes.
If I go here and give it one mix. All right, you can turn back around. Your card could be somewhere near the bottom, the middle, the top. You didn't see where I put it.
I did not. No.
You don't know where it is.
No idea.
But I know almost exactly where it is. And I'm hoping that together we can find it. Once again, stand behind the cards. Hold your finger out. Take a deep breath. This time when I say go, we're going to start a little bit higher. When I say go, you're going to move your hand, but you're going to keep it moving back and forth across the cards there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You're going to go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. It's your choice. But when I say go, keep your hand moving, but just slowly start to bring it down towards the cards. Eventually, let your finger touch whatever card it wants to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. And take your time with this. There's no rush. Don't move it down just yet.
Okay.
Wait for me to say go.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah. All right. Go.
Stop with any card?
Any card. Oh, okay. So, all right. So here's what I want to do. I want to do it again.
Yes, sir.
And the only reason I want to do it again is because I want this to fully be your choice. So when you touch a card,
okay,
own it. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna own it.
All right.
All right, I got you this time.
Take a breath. Start moving. Go. Okay, just push it forward a few inches so we remember which one. Did that feel like a free choice?
It felt better, yes. Yeah.
It felt better, right?
That's
good.
Yeah.
If you want, and this is up to you, I want to be fair. If you want to push it back in, we can do it again. You can touch another one, or you can stay with that one. Whatever makes you happy.
I'm going to stick with that one. Yes.
I don't want to see it yet, but will you just push it out of the spread? You could have touched, actually you did touch one of these other cards. I don't know which one it was, but you could have touched any of these. The 9, the ace, the jack. You touched that one.
Yes, I did.
You still remember your card from earlier? What is it?
The 3 of hearts.
The 3 of hearts.
I didn't see it.
I see the 3 of diamonds. You touched one card.
That's it, yeah.
Thank you so much. Excellent job. Thank you. Thank you very much. Whew. This is a fun trick that I like to call influence. And before we talk about it, I want to perform something else for you. This last trick that I did, I started doing maybe 8 years ago. And since then, the idea has kind of evolved and spawned off a brand new trick that's nothing like what you just saw. So I think in the interest of talking kind of about how these ideas evolve, I'll show you what it's changed into, because it's very, very different. So for this version, does anyone have a phone that I can borrow briefly? I have a photo that I want to take. It needs to be a large phone with plenty of battery life. And it would help if you're able to read. Okay, we got a couple here. What was your name?
Nate.
Nate? Good to see you. Oh, Nick. Good to see you, Nick. Nice to meet you. I'm going to steal your phone real quick. Is it locked? Is the password locked? All right, go ahead and unlock that. I'm not Darren Brown. Good. All right, I'm going to take a photo. Will you open your camera app for me? I'm just going to take a quick photo, and this photo is, it's secret. You don't get to look at it yet, so you got to keep it secret until we're ready. That's the deal. Let's see if I can get it. Check it, make sure it's all right. Yep, looks good, looks good. All right, and I will let you lock that, and there we go. We're going to use that later. Thank you, Nick. Put this away. And let's get another volunteer. Nick, do you know many of these people in this room? Just out of curiosity, like, are you friends? Okay, good. Stand up for me, Nick. Take a look around the room. Point to anyone that you'd like. You get to choose my volunteer. This guy right here? Yes. What's your name, sir? Eric, come on up. Let's give Eric a round of applause. Thank you, Nick. Good to see you, Eric. Right over here on this side. Eric, I brought a few photos that I want to show you. I brought with me some photos of playing cards. It's not many. It's not a full deck. It's maybe half a dozen photos. Let me show you guys here. But these aren't photos of just any cards. These are photos of a very special deck of cards. The photos are special because of who owned the cards. This is photos of a deck of cards that was once owned by Harry Houdini. Yeah, neat, huh? So several years ago, I was on tour. I was in Europe, and I met with a man who had a pretty large magic collection. And in his collection, He claimed to have the deck of cards that Harry Houdini used on stage during his very last show, which took place in Detroit at the Garrick Theater just before he passed away. What was interesting, what made me take some photos, though, was not just the deck of cards, but he also had with him a newspaper article that he'd collected. And the newspaper article ran just after Houdini died, and in there they briefly describe his performance from that night. It's pretty neat. So I snapped some photos, and what kind of magic are you into? What do you normally do?
Cards.
Cards, good. All right. I want to try something with the photos of Houdini's cards. Does that sound all right?
Sure.
All right. Step back over here. Hold your finger out like we did just a moment before. Right now, the shadow of your finger is over the ace. Right now, it's over the 9, or the 9 of diamonds, or the queen. In a moment, just like we did earlier, I'm going to ask you to move that shadow of your finger back and forth. Right? You can go as fast as you'd like or as slow as you'd like. It's your choice. Whenever you want to, and this is on you, I just want you to bring your finger down and touch one of those photos. Does that sound all right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it a little bit harder, though. I'm going to turn the photos face down. Hold your finger up, take a breath, and start your hand going back and forth. Now, as you do this, I want you to imagine that it's 1926. You're much younger. I want you to imagine that you're in Detroit, you're at the Garrick Theater, you're watching Houdini perform. Houdini asks you to select a card. Whenever you want to, touch one of those photos. That one. Push it forward just a little bit. That feel like a free choice?
Yeah.
If you want, we can slide it back, do it again, or...
Nope, good.
You're sure?
Sure.
I don't want to see it just yet. You could have touched any one of these. The ace, the 6, the 9, but you touched that one. Remember that photo that I took earlier?
Mm-hmm.
You still have that, right? Yeah. Stand up for me. Open that photo all the way up. Go ahead and take a look at it. That newspaper article that I mentioned that ran about Houdini, I took a photo of it on his phone. And you'll see there that, actually, here, let me just show the camera real quick since we've got these guys. I'll just show you what this looks like. You can see that I've highlighted a part of the article there. Nick, would you do me a favor and just read that off in a loud voice, just the highlighted part? All right, microphone. Good idea. Read that off for me.
Despite not feeling well, Houdini gave a performance last week at the Garrick Theater. He astonished the audience with feats of magic, including a card trick during which he impossibly predicted a young lady would select the 3 of spades.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you were a young lady? You touched one photo. What did it say? What card?
3 of spades.
The 3 of spades. Wow. Excellent work. Thank you so much. All right. Let's talk about both of those. And let's start by talking about the trick with the cards. What I really like about this is that it's a card trick that doesn't really feel like a card trick. Even though I'm having a card selected and I'm finding it looks and feels much more like a psychological thing, which makes it really interesting to me. Who did I bring up for this? Remind me, what was your name again?
Joe.
Joe, that's right, Joe. Joe, you're going to hate me for this, and I just want to apologize in advance. Okay. Yeah. This seems so hands-off and so impossible, but it's very easy to do. Take a look at the cards. It looks like a shuffled deck of cards, right? But these cards are actually in a fairly specific order. It's difficult to see when you look at it like this, but if I spread slowly, you can see you could have changed your mind a lot. This is the old Monte Cristo deck, or the Mastermind deck. And what these are, it's a very cleverly gimmicked deck of cards. These are a bunch of 3 of spades, or 3 of hearts, excuse me. Each one is a 3 of hearts. But one index on each card has been misprinted. That one's a 6. That one's an 8 of clubs. That one's a king. It's just one index. What that means is that if I turn the entire deck like this and spread it, the cards appear to be different. Right? But as long as I cover that index as I show it, it'll be the 3 of hearts. It's pretty fun, isn't it? Yeah. This is typically done for a card in any number. And you can imagine how that would work. You have a card selected. Surprise, it's the 3 of hearts. You shuffle it back into the deck. You ask someone in the audience to name any number between 1 and 52. You count down at whatever number they stopped at, and there's your 3 of hearts. Very cool. But a few years ago, I had this idea to make it more psychological, and so I started working on the scripting and the presentation. And I really liked how it changed the reactions. So I kept playing with it. And eventually I had an idea to change the gimmick. And that is where the photographs came from. Take a look at the 3 of spades again. You'll notice, the first thing you'll notice about this is that I don't have to hide one of those corners of the 3. You can see the full card, right? But I am hiding something. I've designed a 3rd index onto this photo, right? Now, I know it looks funny because it's sideways and it's at the bottom, but unlike a normal deck of cards, I designed these photographs to be square, which means they can be secretly rotated, right? So what I have are not a bunch of different photographs. I actually have a bunch of photos of the 3 of spades, but each one has an extra 3rd index that's been printed onto it. If I take all of these and rotate them, trying to watch myself in the monitor at the same time, and I'm totally getting backwards. That's fun. If I rotate all of these photos like this, right, I place one real photograph of the Queen of Hearts at the very back, a real photograph of the Ace of Spades in front, and I can now spread, and these look like they're photographs of different photos. I can even spread them down here on the table, right? For the finale, as long as I cover that extra index with my finger and then rotate the card as I show the audience, it'll match the newspaper prediction. Isn't that fun? All right. So that is, the card trick is a trick that I call influence, and the trick with the photographs is a trick that I call Houdini's influence. And are there any questions?
Did you make those on Photoshop and then just print it out on photo paper and cut them to size and all that kind of stuff?
So I did make these in Photoshop, yeah, and we are Penguin is going to have these. By the time you guys at home watch this, this will be available on Penguin. I print these at Costco, actually. They're designed to be like 4x6 photos, so you can print them anywhere, Costco, Walgreens, any store that prints photos, or you can print them yourself, and then I trim them so they look square. And that's just so they look like a Polaroid.
Yeah, but they're actually, it's a digital print that's a much higher quality than you could do, say, at home on a
Right, sure, if you were trying to do it. Yeah, I designed these in Photoshop and then exported a high-res image from which we print from. Exactly.
Sweet.
Yeah. Other questions about either version? Yeah.
Oh, do we have a microphone over here? I got it for you. There you go. Yep.
All right, I kind of felt like I was on a Penn and Teller thing here where I had to turn my back. What was going on?
Oh, you didn't see what was going on with your back turned. We were all laughing at you. No, it is an important point because you missed that whole part of the trick. So let me just show you really quick. You selected a card that was out of the deck. The deck was spread face up. I think we were somewhere in this position. All right. I asked you to turn your back, and all I did was put your card back in the deck. Now, it doesn't matter where it goes, as long as it's somewhere in the middle, because all of the cards are 3 of hearts, right? But I'll share with you a little thing I learned. If I put it in the center, right, and someone over here sees that it goes in the center, and then later on you touch a card near one of the ends, how did it move? So if I'm in this kind of a situation where I am concerned that someone might be able to see where the card goes, I put it in the deck, and then I follow it up with a line. I do this. I say, if we put your card here, and if I give it one shuffle, that should put it...
And Wayne, I think you just put your cover card in the center.
Oh, did I?
You took the bottom card and put it in the center.
Yeah, that happens. So, but yeah, I play it like that. So if I put your card in the center and then give it one shuffle, that should put it where I want it. And then I bring my volunteer back. So the important thing is the card gets returned to the deck and nobody sees where it goes. Okay. Right. I will mention, though, since you saw the cover card thing, the card that I use, the only normal card in the deck is the 7 of spades. And I put it on the face. And I use the 7 for a reason. Because the 7 can be right side up like it is now, or it can be upside down. If it's upside down, I know that I cannot spread it. Don't spread it if it's upside down. People will see. So as long as when I'm looking at the deck, it's right side up, I know that I'm free to just spread it and I can have it examined.
Now, do you have any indication on the back of the cards what the orientation is?
No, I don't, but you totally could.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little pencil mark, a little pencil dot or something on the back will give you that information if it's face down too. I think I've just been doing it for so many years, all the muscle
that you keep track of the orientation
as
it goes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Was there another hand?
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. That's influence and Houdini's influence. Thank you. Getting to that point in the evening when people are starting to avoid my look. They know what's coming. And the blue shirt right there. Yeah. Oh, you work with Penguin, don't you? You got? Oh, you don't? No. You're just a fan. You're just wearing the T-shirt. Right. What's your name? Steve. Steve, will you come on up? Let's give Steve a round of applause. Steve. Good to see you, Steve. Right over here, Steve. I saw the logo on your shirt, and I thought maybe you were a staff member. I want to show you something. Don't move. This. I brought with me tonight some cherries. Do you like cherries?
Of course.
That is the right kind of answer. Of course. I'm going to take a couple. Will you take a couple? Good. I just want you to do what I do. We're going to hold one in each hand like this. Welcome to show business. The first cherry, that was good. Do it with a little bit more enthusiasm, though. The first cherry, good. Just flung some cherry juice on those guys. Bon appetit. It's pretty good. The second cherry. Nice. Enjoy. This one we just wet. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. What's important are the stems. We're going to leave them sticking out of our mouth like this. Mm-hmm. It's pretty strange, right? Yeah, borderline. Ohio. Tied into a knot. Yeah, not so much. Yeah. That'll work. Tying two cherry stems into a knot. It's something I learned how to do a long time ago. It's difficult. You can just drop those down. But tonight, I'm going to try something a bit more complicated. Stuck inside of this cherry are a number of sewing needles. Will you take one of those out for me? and I want you to take a look at it. It's real, it's sharp, don't poke yourself too hard. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to take that needle and place it on my tongue. Notice that I did not say in my tongue, which is a totally different trick. I'm glad that's funny. Can you do that for me? Can you lay that right on my tongue? It doesn't matter which direction it's facing, just not down. Huh? I want you to look on top of my tongue. Look in the very back by the.
You go.
Yeah, the tonsil, the lung. Beneath. Gums. Gone. Right now, that needle is resting in my stomach. I can feel it. It's not uncomfortable, but that means that we have just a few minutes to bring it back before we run into a problem. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hold up your left hand for me. Hold up your finger like this. I'm going to wrap the string right around the end of your finger, and just pinch that with your thumb so it doesn't unravel. That's not too tight, is it? That's good. Have you ever been fishing?
Not in a long time.
Right on. It's best if you just stay still then. And if you look, you will see that it's not just threaded, but that, my friend, is tied to the string, knotted, and that is my gift to you for coming tonight. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. You don't really have to keep it if you don't want to. Right. I'm glad I didn't pull it through my eye either. It's funny though, memory is such a strange thing. When I do these two tricks in the same show, when I do the needle trick and the thread out of the eye trick, for non-magicians, it's very common for someone to come up after the show and say, my favorite part of the show is when you swallowed the thread and the needle and pulled them out of your eye. They do say that, they merge the two. And so when they say that, I always say, thank you, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it does happen. When I was 12, one of the first magic books that I really got into was a biography about Houdini that was written by Ken Silverman. And in this book, there's a great photo of Houdini performing the needle swallowing. Now, he did the full version. This is a photo of a ton of needles coming out of Houdini's mouth. And he's got a couple of people up on stage with him. It's iconic. So I saw that as a kid, and I thought, that's crazy. I have to be able to do that. That's amazing. And at the time, I had started performing at retirement homes. So every week, I would go to a different retirement center in my town, and I would do a different magic show. And at that time, I came up with a kind of a silly version of the needle swallowing that was kind of neat. I would walk around with a box of toothpicks, and I would ask people to take out a toothpick and break it in half. I'd have 4 or 5 people do that. I would collect all the little broken pieces of toothpicks. On my way back up to the front, I would switch those for broken pieces of dried, uncooked spaghetti. Right? Pasta. And from a short distance, the little bundle of uncooked pasta looked exactly like toothpicks that had been broken. So I could take that whole little bundle, put it in my mouth, crunch the whole thing up, because it was just spaghetti. I would swallow it, and then eventually I would pull a piece of string out of my mouth that had real toothpicks tied onto it. My parents, I don't know. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I performed that for a little while. It was interesting, but eventually I did start to experiment with real needles. And over the years, I developed a full version of the needle swallowing that I like to perform. I performed it last night for any of you that were at the show. I swallow 40 to 60 sewing needles. And at the end, all of the needles are tied to the string, and it stretches 12 to 15 feet across the stage. It's, yeah, right? I also do this trick where I levitate above, I'm just joking. It's a long routine, though. It's about 12 minutes long, the full version. A couple of years ago, I was invited overseas to perform on a TV talk show. And on a talk show, you might have 2 or 3 minutes to do some magic, but you don't have 12 minutes. So just as a creative exercise, I started looking at ways to shorten the needle swallowing routine. I started to cut little bits out of it, and how short can I make it? And eventually I started taking away needles until I just ended up with one needle. And when I had just one needle, I made a pretty neat discovery that led to this whole trick. And we're going to go through it. Let me move this back up front. Put this here. We'll need this, and we'll get rid of this. Okay. So, I have a spool of thread here. This is the same kind of string I was using earlier. It's just cotton thread. Other than that, nothing special. The first thing that I'm going to do is tie a couple of secret knots onto this string right about here. And to give you an idea of what I'm trying to accomplish, because I know it's small, if my hand was the spool and this is the string coming off of it, just like this, I'm going to tie several knots on top of each other. So I have one large knot. And then directly below the large knot, I'm going to have a single knot. And the space that's in between the two is very, very tiny. I'll show that to you in just a minute. So here's my string, and I'm going to start by tying that big knot right here. And I'm going to do that by tying the knot with this end. I don't know how to put this into words, so let me just do it. I start the knot here, and I use the spool to come underneath. Right? Does that make sense? So that's one. I'm now going to take the spool underneath again. 2, 3. I'm just wrapping it around. But this is, I forget what this is called. It might be called a surgeon's knot is what's in my head, but that might be wrong. All this allows me to do is essentially tie several knots right on top of each other quickly. So if I lay this here, you guys won't be able to see this out there, but overhead, for the viewers at home, this will be really pretty. If I now tighten this up, that will all come together into one large knot. And I know it's so hard to small, or it's so small it's difficult to see even now. Did I just say it's so hard to small? Yes. I thought so. Just checking. It's late. What time is it? So that's not, I can tell by looking at it that it's not quite as big as I want it to be. So I'm going to tie another knot just on top, just to make sure. And this just takes a little bit of practice, yeah. So there's my large knot. I'm now going to tie a small knot directly below it. And to do that, I'll show you a really easy way to do this. I'm going to use a needle. So, if I start a knot at this end of the string, but keep it loose, don't tighten it. If I put my finger right in the center of the knot, I can just slide it down the string, right? I'm going to do the same thing with the needle, but because the needle is so much thinner than my finger, I can be very precise with where I position this knot before I have it tighten all the way up. So I'm just going to drag the knot down the string until it touches the big knot. It's right next to it now. So right now there's no space between it. But as soon as I take the needle out and tighten it, it automatically puts just a little bit of space between the two, just enough. And I know this is so hard to see. But there's the large knot, and directly below it is the tiny knot right there. Okay? And for some perspective here, my length of string is pretty long here. The knots are right here, okay? Is everyone with me so far? Good, good, good. All right. Now, I'm going to thread the needle onto the string. And this takes some patience and some practice. And I'm going to slide the needle all the way down until it touches the knot. So you can see here that it's loose. I can let it slide a little bit further down, and there it touches that small knot. I'm now going to take that needle, grab it, and I'm going to drop it right inside the center of the spool, right down the hole that goes through the center. So I guess I should mention that it's important that you use a spool that has a hole down the center. Most spools that you buy at a store, I've noticed, will have a hole down the center, but there'll be a sticker right on top, which is great. You can just poke a little hole right in the sticker and it works fine. Okay? I'm now going to wrap the rest of the thread around the spool.
So the needle is between two?
It's not between the two, it's just next to it, right? Because next to the smallest one, exactly. So if my hand is the spool, I've got the large knot, the small knot, the needle's right below the small knot, right? And then it's hiding down inside the center. Make sense? All right. So at this point, I have a needle that's already threaded onto the string. It's hiding in the center of the spool, but there's also a couple of secret knots that have been tied. That's the setup. I'm ready for a performance. Grab some water. The first thing that I do when I'm ready to really perform this is I pick my volunteer. And you did so great. Would you be willing to come up again? Come on up. Now, as my volunteer stands up, as they start to join me on stage, I begin to judge them. Welcome. Welcome back. Right over here. I ask myself some questions about my volunteer. What are they like? Are they sober? Are they drunk? Are they following my instructions? Because the needles are real, and I'm about to ask my volunteer to place a needle on my tongue. So I need to find out, and I need to make sure that I'm comfortable with my volunteer doing that before I give them that opportunity. If I'm not comfortable, and sometimes that happens, usually alcohol's involved. Not on my end. I don't even give them the option. I ask them to examine the needle, but then I take it and I carefully place it on my tongue. Make sense? Either way, the needle ends up on my tongue, and it looks like I swallow it. I don't really swallow it. That would be stupid. Yeah. As soon as my lips close, I use my tongue to push the needle so that it lays right here, right along my lower gum. And that's where the first needle is still from earlier. I'll get that out now.
Does it hook your pouch?
Mm-mm. Hmm. Ta-da. Bizarre, strange, scary, all of those things. But this is probably not as difficult to do as you imagine that it is. If you were to take a toothpick and break a small piece off of a toothpick, or even a stick of gum, you can cut a small piece that's about the size of a small needle, you'll find that you can carefully push it so it lays right here. And when it lays here, it's comfortable. It doesn't poke you, like you asked about. And if you are concerned, this is a little tip, if you want to work with needles and you are concerned about being poked, you can use a hammer or a file. You can blunt the end of the needle so that it's not quite as sharp, and that can make it a little bit more comfortable. I don't do that, but that's just because I've been putting needles in my mouth for too long. For most of my life, it feels. The important thing, though, is as soon as this needle goes into my mouth, I become hyper aware of what's going on. I'll do it again so you can see the action here. And that's it. It's done. It's now resting right here. I can feel it. I can tell that I have something there, but it's not poking me. It's not uncomfortable. But in this position, it's possible for me to speak. It's even possible for me to drink water. Oh, yes. But, like I said, I remain hyper aware of the fact that I have a needle in my mouth. And that's one of the keys to this trick, is I want to look somewhat playful. I want to be engaged with my volunteer. I need to be here, present with what's happening. But I need to be hyper aware of the fact that I have a needle in my mouth, which means that every time I take a drink of water, every time I swallow, if I have to cough, every word that I speak, the first thing I'm doing is asking myself, is that needle still in position? And am I comfortable? And if I'm ever not sure, because sometimes it just gets really comfortable, and I go, is it still there? I would just take a minute and I just do this. I just touch it with my tongue. So I don't mess around when it comes to this kind of a thing. But at this point, the audience believes I've swallowed the needle. Here's where it gets fun. I pick up the spool. And as I pick it up, I place my finger on top of the needle there. And I just begin to unravel the string like this. At a certain point, the string will stop because it's all unspooled and the needle's ready to come out. From this position, it looks like I just break the thread. But here's what really happens. As my right hand lifts up, that needle is secretly pulled right out of the center of the spool where it hides behind my fingers. And when I do this, you can see that I keep my fingers closed. I don't separate them like this, right? Did you see that?
I did see
You did
yes.
see that? You guys saw that okay? All right. I'll do it again, but let me do it at speed so you can see the whole action. Okay? So I place my finger on top, I unravel the spool, and that's it. It just looks like I break off a piece of string, but I now have that needle hidden right here behind my fingers. Okay? And you can see that the knots we tied earlier, they do a couple of things for us, but what they're doing right now is they're preventing the needle from sliding all the way off the thread as it's hiding back here behind my fingers. Okay? In a continuing action, I grab that needle with my left fingers and I lay it on my right index finger just like this. And you can see that the eye of the needle is closest to the tip of my finger, right? Which means if I put my thumb on top, it just looks like I'm holding a string. And here's the interesting discovery that I made. Because the needle at this point is not tied to the thread, it's free to move. So if you watch from the front, as I do this, the needle slides down the thread, but it creates the impression that besides the string, I have nothing else in my hands. Right? I'll do that again. Let me back it up. And if we get a wide shot for this, maybe? Again, it's just a fluid motion. It looks like you're just displaying the string, but you've slid the needle down to the other end. Right? So, my volunteer, will you hold up your finger, left finger again? Perfect. The needle is right here. As I wrap the string around my volunteer's finger, the needle simply slides further down the string, like this. It's just sliding further down as I go around, right? I ask my volunteer to squeeze, and then I slide the needle all the way to the other end of the string, which is where the two knots are. Okay? And at this point, I'm going to lock the needle into position. And I do that as I ask my volunteer a question. It's very simple. I say, that's not too tight, is it? Right? Because I've just wrapped it around his fingers. But as I ask my volunteer that, I pinch the string here, and I give the needle a little tug. It's not too tight, is it? Right? That little tug is all it takes for that needle to pop over the small knot and become trapped in between those two knots that we tied earlier. Right? Now, because the small knot's so small, if I wanted to, I can slip the needle right out. It doesn't provide much resistance. But as long as it's between the two, it really does seem like it's tied to the string, right? So again, that happens here. That's not too tight, is it? No. All that's left now is for me to carefully place the needle on my tongue. I eat the string and then back away to reveal it. But, as you can imagine, that's dangerous. Because you have the needle in your mouth and you're backing away. It's being pulled from your mouth, which means it's moving. So I have to not only be conscious and aware of my movements, but I have to be aware of my volunteers. And you did great. Some people, especially laymen, sometimes assume that they're supposed to help pull. So, right, so they start to back away. And if that ever happens, it's, the thread's coming out of my mouth, so I can feel as soon as they start to put any tension on it, backing away from me, and I just move towards them. I'll just follow them, But what I do is I reach up and I take their risk and I make eye contact. And that's all it takes to communicate that you want them to stand still, right? That's rare, I should say. It does happen, but it's not common. The other thing I'll say is that when I put the needle on my tongue, I try to keep it where it is. I don't let it move. And as I bring the thread into my mouth, the thread's just piling up on top of it. And then I back away to reveal it. So let me show you what that looks like. This is so strange. And then, of course, I show that it's not just threaded, it's tied onto the string. Last thing I'll mention, I like to make a joke at the end. It's kind of, I say, that's my gift for you, thanks for coming, and I kind of shake a hand. It's not really a joke, it's just a little thing. But most people they do what you started to do. They take it off, they don't really want to keep it, right? It's just, they kind of drop it down. But if someone does want to keep it, especially if you're doing this like in a bar, or a casual situation and you know people are going to examine it. If you hold this up again, pretend like it's still wrapped around your finger there. I end the trick, and as an afterthought, I have a little solution. So I say, you can keep that, that's my gift for you, thank you very much. And I let that moment register, the trick is over, and then I say, oh, you know what, here, I don't want it to slip off, let me just double knot it. Done. That's it. You tie a single knot on top, it's now knotted into a little clump, and they can examine it. And that's a trick that I call a single needle. Thank you very much. You were great, man. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Wayne,
yeah.
When you place the needle into your mouth,
right,
you've got to make sure that the eye needle is facing forward, yes? So there's a little bit more technique.
No, I don't.
You make it.
Yeah.
It
So
goes
let me
back,
show you what happens.
So there's got to be technique there when it's coming out. Yeah. Does it spin around maybe?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you remember the way that I'm holding this needle when I place it into my mouth, the eye of the needle is closest to the tip of my finger, which means that when this comes and is placed on my tongue, it means that the sharp point of the needle is set to come out first, right, if it's being pulled. Now, you would think that that would be dangerous. What I've found most of the time is that it comes out, but it comes out very easily. It just comes straight out. Sometimes it will want to spin around like this and come out eye first. I've never had an issue with that, as long as it's slow. And if you go back and watch the performance, you'll see that when I back away, it's a very slow thing, and the reason it's so slow is because I'm feeling the thread on my tongue. I'm kind of... how do I describe this? I guess I'm limiting the amount of thread that comes out. It's very slow. I'm conscious of every moment of that thread as it comes out. But what that means is that I feel the needle. I feel exactly what it's doing. And I can tell if it's going to come out point first, and I need to open my lips a little bit and make sure that I don't get poked, or if it's going to spin around and come out eye first. It's really not, it sounds a lot more terrifying than it actually is. But I have been surprised that it doesn't do a consistent... I'm not sure what it is. Sometimes it'll spin, sometimes it won't. There's something small, some knacky thing that's happening that's determining it. Yeah. Other questions? Oh, I see a hand over here. Do we have a mic? Yeah. Hi, welcome back. Let's hear it this time. What's your question?
I was going to ask, have you ever had a problem with them letting go of the string, and would there be a way to get out of that?
That's great. No, I haven't had a problem, and I think the reason, I'm trying to think why that hasn't been a problem, and I think it's just because I'm very clear. I wrap the thread around their finger multiple times, and then I have a line where I say, pinch that with your thumb so it doesn't fall off. And I think it's just because that's part of the presentation I haven't run into a problem. Yeah.
It's kind of you do that thing with the needle and then the eye.
The
with
eye thing, I know, all
that
this.
just made me almost nauseous. I mean, I just couldn't handle it. Now
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. What is kind of what's the weirdest impact you've had on somebody you brought up to stage? Because you brought them right up. That was like one of your first tricks when you did
the eye thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't really have a lot of time to gauge who you were working with.
No, but I have a kind of a good. I think I have a good instinct now, having worked for so many different types of audiences. But I think. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's like a sure way when it comes to picking volunteers, but for me, it's just a feeling. It's the look in their eyes. It's the way that they're smiling, or if they're smiling. You can tell when someone doesn't want to come up, and if they don't want to come up, they're probably not going to react very well, if that makes sense. But you're absolutely right. This kind of magic makes people squirm. It's visceral. You know, anytime you do anything with your eyes, needles in your mouth, people feel it, and there's this kind of this physical reaction. It's not just an emotional thing. It's something happens with the body too, and it is interesting. It changes the effect entirely. Yeah.
It was great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Two quick questions, actually. First is, on this, do you leave a couple extra inches after the needle so that it dangles?
I try to. Yeah. It's that's one of the knacky things with this. What he's talking about is the little bit of, when you break it, the little bit of string that's left on this end is useful to grab with your teeth or your tongue at the very end for the finale, so you end like this. And unfortunately, it's a bit of a knacky thing, and sometimes when this gets in your mouth, the end kind of gets tangled like it did during the performance, and I kind of have to catch it with my finger. And sometimes it doesn't. It's just a knacky thing. Yeah.
The other question is, how does the reaction compare with the single needle versus many needles?
Multiple needles? There's something really interesting about the single needle version. And I think when I started performing this, the conclusion I came to, I'm not sure this is entirely the whole truth, but the conclusion I came to is that the effect is maybe more clear. If you think about the multiple needle version, you're watching someone swallow 40 to 60 sewing needles and then a whole length of thread, and then they regurgitate it with all the needles tied onto it. The question that comes into my mind is it magic? Is it skill? Is it the muscles of the stomach? You know, what's the effect? What does the person want you to believe? And so what's nice about this, the simplicity of this, especially when I use the presentational thing of tying the cherry stems into a knot, it becomes very clear, I think. And the string never leaves sight. Your volunteer holds it the whole time, and it's almost like they fish it out. And that's something that's unique. That's unique to needle swallowing, as far as I can tell. And it was such an exciting discovery when I realized that the needle didn't have to be fixed, which meant it could slide, which meant all of these things were possible. Yeah. But I think for an audience of any size, for an audience of this size, I would typically perform the full needle version with all the needles. Anything smaller than this, especially close-up, bar, parlor, the single needle version, it might even be better. I hesitate to say that, but it might be better. Yeah.
I was going to ask if you could do this effect and then you can go into thread with the needle still being in your mouth.
Yeah, sure. You sure could. Yeah, you'd have to work it out and make sure that you need to talk to your parents. Is what I'm trying to say. Talk to your parents.
I just know our future live audience is gonna wonder this. Do you actually do the tying of the cherry stems, or do you switch it out?
That is totally my secret for now.
Are you not teaching that one?
I'm not teaching that one.
That's good. I'm glad I was sitting here then.
Oh yes. Yes, I'm sure you are. Are there any other questions about this? Okay, let me move this back. I have one last thing I want to share with you before we get into some question and answers with Dan. Okay. So, what's the point? Back to the question from earlier. Why magic? when I asked myself that question, I found it really hard to pinpoint an answer. Why magic? Why do I love magic? Why do I care about magic? But eventually I realized that it was the connection that you and I had during that last trick. And the connection, Dawn, that we had during the build trick at the very beginning. The connection that we're all having right now in this moment. That connection, that's why I love magic. And I'm going to try to articulate what it is that I see in that connection that makes me love magic so much. But the words are clumsy, and I don't really have the language, so bear with me. There's an old saying in Zen Buddhism that says Zen is like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't mistake the finger for the moon. I think the same can be said about magic. Magic implies a greater truth, but it's easy to become distracted. It's easy to become distracted by the ego of the performer, by the secret to the trick, or by the fact that there even is a secret. And as magicians, it's so easy for us to become distracted by the power of it all. So it's easy to become distracted. But the reason I love magic and what I see in that connection is that if we can eliminate the distractions as much as possible, magic generates within us and within our audiences the emotions that we should feel every time we look at the sky, every time we look up at the stars or listen to the rain, every time we look someone in the eyes. Because to experience anything at all is astonishing. So I think the great magicians, they don't just show us magic tricks. They show us the moon. And that's my lecture. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you guys very much.
Keep it going for Wayne Houchin.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for helping out. You guys were great.
Wayne, come on over here.
Absolutely.
Join me here. Yeah, you got some water there. We'll talk a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I brought you some cherries.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. I do love these things.
I know, they're
I
good,
don't
right?
eat them as often as I used to. When I was a kid, I would raid the refrigerator and eat these like crazy.
I'm sure these can't possibly be healthy for you.
No, they can't be. There's no way.
Only in a whiskey sour.
With too much sugar, yeah.
Only in a
there
whiskey
you go. In a whiskey sour. That makes it healthy. First thing I'd like to comment on is your performing style is quite unique among magicians.
Sure.
Because you have a very calm, relaxed, confident manner that's very friendly. It's not overbearing, theatrical.
Sure,
sure. It actually doesn't seem rehearsed, but I know it is.
Yeah. That whole lecture, that whole thing is scripted. I can print the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Almost, not really word for word, but almost word for word.
Sure. Yeah. And I just absolutely love that. It's very natural. Have you always been really comfortable on stage?
No, certainly not. No, I had to learn how to do that. Oh man, that's a hard thing to talk about too, because it's all about finding yourself on stage, and that's the advice that everyone gives to young performers: is when you perform, just be yourself, and that's like the hardest thing in the world to learn how to do.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to give the advice because it really is a matter of performing so much. And yet being aware all the time.
So that's the way you do it. You do a lot of shows over and over and over, and you learn. Like I did some illusions when I was younger. My wife and I, we had a whole routine when we were dating, and she would dance. It was a professional levitation. I floated her. It was really cool. It looked great, but I felt so silly.
Yeah, it just wasn't your style.
It just was not my style. So I got away from that, and I started talking more to the audience, and I really fell into sleight of hand and psychology and that's kind of where my interest went. But in terms of the energy level, I remember it was 2010, and I went over to Israel for the first time. And this was one of my first times overseas. And I was brought over to go do a magic show, to talk to some magicians, but also do a big show for the public out there. And when I walked out on stage, I was so nervous. Like, I was completely out of my depth. They had brought me out to Israel thinking they were bringing out, And I was so terrified. I was not, but it went fine. But I walked out on stage and I did the thing that is so common here in the States. I said, "How are you guys doing?" You know? And it was just silence, like crickets. You know? And over here, we're used to, "How are you guys doing?" And everyone erupts and they feed you that energy right at the beginning, and then you just roll with that. And Ozzy Wynn, do you know Ozzy?
Yeah.
So he came to me afterwards and he says, "Yeah, over here it's different. They don't do that. It's not a typical thing to walk out and ask the audience to scream at the beginning of the show. You haven't done anything yet." And it made a lot of sense to me. So I stopped doing that, and what I noticed, if you think about it, if you have a performer who comes out on stage and they're like full energy, their energy level is an 11, right? There's nowhere for the audience to go. For the whole show, your energy level's here, which means any finale, any magic effect is lost. You can't go higher. It's just everyone's at that energy because they're having to pay attention at that energy level. So if you drop it down from an 11 and come in like at a 6, you have all this room to play in terms of bringing the energy level up more or bringing it down lower, and you can do this, and it helps keep people's attention. It helps you as a performer, I think.
Yeah.
Because you just don't have to be on 100% of the time running.
Yeah, and I think it can help with nervous energy on stage for performers that get that, because if you try to build up your excitement, you're getting yourself nervous. Yeah.
It's really interesting because I've thought a lot about nerves. I've started to notice something over the last couple of years about nervousness. I get asked a lot by young magicians, how do you get over nerves? I know you hear that too. And the thing is, I think there's a misunderstanding that's happening. That nervous energy that we're so terrified of, when you get nervous and your hands shake and you get sweaty, I think that's adrenaline. It's the rush that you get before a performance. I still get that. It never goes away. But when you're inexperienced, you feel all that, and it plays on your fears.
Yeah.
And you go, "Holy shit, I'm scared."
Yeah.
Right? When you do a lot of shows and you have enough experience, all those shakes are there. All that energy.
You almost welcome it when you've rehearsed, when you're well rehearsed.
It's a good kind of energy. Yeah. And even I get that, and I use it. I bring all that energy in, and it helps me just stay even more calm, I think. But all that same nervous energy is there. It's just not nervousness. It's excitement. It's how you translate the information, I think.
Yeah, and then another thing that I absolutely love is the way that you hold energy in silence. I don't know if that means a lot to anybody else, but having studied theater, it's one of the hardest things to do on stage is to be silent.
Be silent, yeah.
And yet you do it, I think, better than any magician I've ever seen.
Oh,
Magicians are really bad at it.
Thank you.
We like to talk a lot, myself included.
Sure,
We just love to fill that dead space, right?
Yeah.
But your space isn't dead space. It focuses everybody.
Yeah, I don't know.
It works so well for you.
It's just something that happened naturally through performing. I kind of got slower, and then I started to realize that, there's power in this. I just made a connection and realized where that came from.
Yeah.
I do a lot of elementary school shows, and I've been doing that since I was in high school. And it's a business that I built when I was in high school, going into college, and I've just kept it going. So I have this history with some of the schools in California of going in for years and doing magic for their kids and talking about all sorts of stuff. And I learned early on that if I could stand in front of a room full of 500 first through sixth graders and do a magic show and hold their attention, I can do it for any audience in the world.
Yeah.
That I really think that a room full of kids can be the easiest audience to perform for and the hardest. And I learned that whole silence trick came from that. When the kids are talking, if you're just quiet, it can bring some of that attention back.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing something. If it's not just dead silence.
That's what I think works, is that your silence is when you have this very clear intention.
That's interesting, yeah.
So we're forced to watch because we can no longer listen.
Right. That's really interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I love it. Now you asked me to ask you about doing the coin in the soda can.
Oh, right,
on the
right.
Today Show.
Okay,
So let's start off with that.
Right, the coin and soda can. We were talking about the angle issues, right? And I was saying that when you're doing that trick, it's to your left is like the awful angle. So this was 2012, and I was on the Today Show to promote the first season of our Discovery Channel show. And we had a production meeting just before with the director, and he said, are there any angle issues? We've got all the cameras here. What don't you want? Which is great. To hear that in the production world is really, what a relief.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, just nothing on my left side. And we're standing behind a table. Kind of.
Oh, what's your? Your
Thanks.
mic
Yeah.
back, yep.
Okay, maybe I'll just stay seated. I'm tethered. I forgot. Yeah. So we're standing behind this table, and we start the segment. We're live, like nationally live. I've got the can, I've got the coin. I'm talking about the TV show, and I'm in it, and I'm shaking. I'm nervous. I'm sweaty. It's live television, and it's my turn to do the trick. So I get the coin, I get the can, and I swear I'm in this position. Mm-hmm. And they wheel 2 cameras in right to the left.
Oh, no.
And I'm watching the main camera and the monitor, and I'm totally aware that they just moved these in.
Yeah.
And I went, what is happening on live television? Are they purposely trying to like blow the trick? What is happening? I was so terrified that the first move, the second sequence, I can't remember that at all. I was so worried about these cameras. And that translated into a small shake.
Yeah.
Right? And so I do the whole trick. It turns out they didn't cut to these cameras. So I was all right. It was totally fine.
Yeah, like the camera guys thought we're going to get a really good close up.
Yeah, they were just moving. Whatever.
The person calling the shots
Who knew?
Don't go to the left.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but what was crazy about that is I get to the end of the trick. It seems to go fine, but I'm mortified. I'm devastated because I was shaking. I was so thrown off by this camera thing that in my mind I'm on TV doing magic, like this, and I'm like, so I went back to the hotel room, and for 2 hours I was like, oh God, I just made a fool of myself on national television. And what am I going to do? And then they posted the clip, and it was fine. And it was just in my mind. I can see the shake if I look for it. Right. But because I was so thrown off by the cameras, everything built up, and it seemed bigger than it was. I will say, though, that it's only because that's so much muscle memory that I could be so freaked out and still have my hands do what they were supposed to be doing. So, yeah, angles are important.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when it comes to that kind of stuff, how many times do you run through and practice something? How long does it take to develop that kind of muscle memory to make the can choreography seem natural, effortless?
It takes a lot of time, but I don't. I talk to some magicians that say, "Yeah, I practice 8 hours a day." Or, for me, it's all fun. I totally do not practice if I'm not having fun, because what's the point? Yeah. So the only reason the coin and can is so smooth is because I started doing it when I was 17 years old, 18 years old, and I'm 33 now, and I've been doing it since then. So it's just the combined amount of time. If you would have seen me do it.
And you obviously love it.
Yeah,
and love to watch yourself do it, and love to do it, and love to show people it, so it never gets...
It's fun to do, right.
It's always
But if you would have seen, the early version for the first few years, it was awful. It was, clunky, and... it takes time, but I don't think that's anything that anyone needs to force. I think you just play with what you want to play with, and when it's ready, it's ready.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure. Now, in addition to the kind of stuff that you've shown us here, you also have a reputation of doing some pretty dangerous stunts, and especially with the television work.
Right,
But that started really early in your career when you were growing up in Northern California.
Yeah.
You actually made headlines for doing the upside down straitjacket escape.
Yeah.
And you did this like 50 feet in the air, and you were how old?
16.
Now, my question is, were your parents aware of your activities?
That's a good question. So my parents have been nothing but supportive of me my entire career. It was my dad that started me in magic. He taught me how to do a bill change. Right? He took a bill, folded it up, turned it into a 20, and then turned it back into a 1, which sucked. But he taught me how to do it. It blew me away. And so my parents always loved that I had something, and I was doing that. And I was so obsessed with Houdini at the time. It was really during the same time I was playing around with needles that I booked myself in a small theater in Chico called the Blue Room Theater. And to promote it, I decided I wanted to do a publicity stunt. So I got the help of the Downtown Chico Business Association, and they helped us get the crane and the permits and the whole. I mean, I didn't grow up with money, so it's not like we just had money to. This was all creative uses. I'm not sure I should say this on a video form, but it's been so long I'm going to do it. I think we told the crane company we were lifting an air conditioning unit.
and they show up and...
Well, we had a friend who knew how to drive the rig.
So you rented a rig from them, and then he just
picked it up.
Oh, yeah, all right. See, that's sneaky. That's good.
And I didn't die, so that worked out.
Okay, but when it comes to something like that, and you're 16 years old, and you want to do it, how did you rehearse that?
Okay, so this is where my parents being so supportive comes in. Because I told this to my parents, and I saved money, and I bought a straitjacket, which is the silliest thing to do when you're 16, but why not? So it was a regulation straitjacket, and my dad built this thing coming off in the backyard. Yeah. He just went and bought some 2x4s, and he
built a rig for you. Eh?
Yeah, he built a rig for me.
It's funny because we come from like similar stock. Because honestly, I had a straitjacket when I was 13 years old. My dad would build all these things for me, these weird contraptions.
It's amazing, isn't it?
When I was 16, I was riding on the back of a car going through flaming walls, and my parents were okay with it.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, but I think for your parents to be okay with that kind of stuff, and for my parents to be okay with the kinds of stuff I was doing, they were okay with it because they saw the whole process. Yeah. They saw how serious I was about safety. And this, the trick with all this stuff is to create the illusion of danger. It's not actually to risk your life. And so that was a big concern. And yeah, he helped me build a rig, and we practiced and figured out the hookup and how to make it safe. Yeah. And that sparked the thing. I became addicted to that kind of extreme stunt. You can't do that you can't go through that kind of adrenaline rush and not come off of that going, I would like to do something like that again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have still you still do the suspended straitjacket, but now you do it as a duo, right?
Yeah, my wife and I do it. And
which I think is so charmingly romantic, isn't it?
It's really an interesting story, though. We were hired to come into the Dominican Republic we were brought in to do a publicity stunt as part of a nationwide campaign against domestic violence. Mm. And this was Fran's idea. We originally thought, well, okay, maybe I can do the straitjacket escape. And I think it was over a bottle of champagne, Fran said, why don't we get 2 cranes and I'll do the escape with you. She's not a performer. She does not like to get in front of people. Yeah. And so this was just a personal challenge for her. Yeah. And we did it, and it went off so well. It went really well. And then after that, we did it again in Cape Town, South Africa. We've done it in Australia. We've done it here in the States. So we've done it since then in a few different places.
Yeah. Now, do you do it, a cooperative, so you're both kind of doing it at the same time, or do you have a little competition in it, or you just do it however you do it?
We do it. It is cooperative.
Right.
So there is music and it is cooperative, but it's not as highly choreographed as that might imply. Yeah. If that makes sense. It looks very legit, very real. Sure. We sell it as a real escape because it is a real escape. They're not trick straitjackets. They're the real things. Yeah. And so we bring people up out of the audience and they get involved. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but you've got it worked out so that your timing's not that far off.
Right,
from one
exactly.
Another
so it looks, right. It looks like it's supposed to look.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it seems better. A lot of people would go with the competition route or whatever, and it just.
Yeah, that can be interesting.
Yeah,
that can work, and sometimes having a competition thing can not work too. I've seen it where it's just weird.
Yeah, exactly, because then somebody's left out. Right.
Right. There has to be a winner and a loser.
Yeah. Now, when you started getting. Actually, you were doing lots of other things before, but let's talk about some of the stuff that you've done on television.
Sure.
On Breaking Magic, the Magic of Science. So you bungee jumped, which is, it's not terribly risky to bungee jump.
Right. No.
And I think it was, if I remember right, it was 160 feet, so 16 stories, which is insane.
Yeah.
But before you did it, you had them cut the cord in half.
Right. So that was the thing. So let me tell you how the producers pitched it to me.
All right, I want to hear this.
So I'm living in London, and we're filming this series, and I get a call one night, late at night, like midnight, 1 o'clock, and it's one of the producers on the show, and he says, Wayne, we were filming a stunt with one of our other hosts on the show, and something went wrong, and he fell like 50 feet onto some padding, but he's in the hospital, and his arm's hurt. And I said, oh, my God, that's crazy. Thanks for telling me. And is he okay? And once they said, yeah, he's fine, they said, so the thing is, he's supposed to film this big stunt tomorrow. And we want you to do it instead because he's in the hospital. Right after telling me that they dropped him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I said, well, what's the stunt? And they said, well, we want you to do a bungee jump. It's 165 feet, And I'd never done a bungee before, so I said, "That's great. What's the trick? What's the angle on this?" And they said, "Well, we're going to cut the cord in half."
You're like, "What, are you crazy?"
Oh, yeah,
that's the thing
I
need.
Yeah, I need that. What are you talking about? So what it is we cut the cord in half, and then on one half of the cord we attached a phone book. On the other half, we attached another phone book. And then we just wove the pages of the books together.
Yeah.
So no.
And I love. There was a nice. It was a great shot on the show of you very carefully.
Oh yeah.
Laying
one after another.
page after another, checking it all yourself.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
This page and this page. But what it is even though the pages are just paper, there's nothing special about the books. There's so many of the pages, and there's the friction of them on each other is enough to keep them all together. So I did a bungee jump with nothing but phone books.
With friction holding it together. Yeah.
So it's kind of a unique show in that we get to do these magical kind of big sciencey things, but it's all based in science, so we get to talk about why it works too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, another one was that you had 750,000 volts of electricity shooting through you, with lightning bolts coming out of your hands.
It sounds really good when you describe it.
Yeah, well, it is
Just
really
keep going.
good. It is really good because it's actually something that uses a Tesla coil, and a big one.
Right.
And actually is something that Tesla himself used to mess around with.
It was so cool.
Yeah. So
to do that.
okay. So what I want to know, you can tell everybody what the setup is.
Sure.
Tell them exactly how everything
All right.
played out.
So really the show is an excuse for us to play with science that is magic, stuff that is so incredible and astonishing that you just, even when you tell people this is how it works, it's still, what? You know, phone books, what? So that's kind of the concept. And what we did is we rented a giant Tesla coil that generated all of this electricity. It generates lightning, essentially. And the thing was, I told people I was going to wear this metal suit, which is exactly what you don't want to wear around
it's like chainmail, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Touching
And I sat on top of the Tesla coil, and they powered it up, and I shot lightning bolts out of my hands.
First, when they start powering it up, all of the blue electricity starts coming out of your fingers. You know,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
We had a couple balloons that had been blown up with propane, so I would point my fingers in it, and lightning would shoot out and blow them up, and it would explode.
And then you had someone from the audience inside
a metal
Faraday cage.
Yeah.
The Faraday cage protects you, but the particular Faraday cage that was made looked like a sarcophagus.
Yeah, it looked like a sarcophagus.
I was worried for her because, you know, you can't touch those things, and it was pretty close around a person. I don't know whose idea that was, but that was dangerous.
It was totally safe. We did have, we had an amazing safety team there.
Yeah.
But that was kind of, we pulled this poor lady out of the audience. During the whole setup, she still had no idea where it was headed, and we locked her in this giant metal. She's standing upright, like right next to
Made out of chicken wire.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But then one of the things that I did is I would point my finger at her and I would shoot lightning and zap her cage with light. It was just bizarre stuff to see. But the trick is really amazing. Basically, the chainmail suit that I was wearing was just channeling all of the electricity around my body. Nothing was going through. So I had to sit. I had to have my feet in a specific place.
Yep. Maintain contact.
Yeah, I had to maintain contact. We had a whole safety team there that I don't think you see any of them on camera at all. But they were there to make sure that I didn't get electrocuted. And so cool to play with.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? You're sitting on top of this thing, and then you charge it up. What does it actually feel like? Can you feel it surging through there?
It's hard to describe, but there is as soon as they turn it on, even if you're just standing in the warehouse, right? You don't have to be hooked up to anything. As soon as they turn that thing on, you can. Smell's not the right word, but you sense it with your nose.
Yeah.
There's this charge in the air that's just, and you hear it, and it's loud, and it's bzzz, and you can feel it. You know, your hair. Not that it stands straight up, but you can just everything becomes charged. You become aware that there's that much power. And then wearing the suit, there's kind of a tingle. Never was it uncomfortable. They told me, the safety guys told me that it would be possible that my fingers could start to get really warm as some stuff. I don't remember exactly what the explanation was, but it's something built up. So I had a technique where they told me if that happened to kind of rub my hands a certain way. But that never happened. It was very surprisingly comfortable for what it was.
Yeah. Did somebody go through it with you, because you had some nice moments in there where you were shooting a charge off here and you would pass it from one hand to another.
Yeah, that was all me.
Work. Yeah, it was all you. You just playing with it, right?
Yeah, I sat up on there for like 10 minutes and they let me just see what I could do, and I just found I could pass the. That's what it was. All right. So what they told me was, as long as my hands were like in here, They wouldn't. The electricity would come like out my head, I think, if it was in here, because it was looking.
Because it was
for
all
the,
close enough.
Right,
and
so
there was a point to leave.
Yeah, it looks for the point to leave. And so if I do this, there might be clips of it. There would actually be like this weird electrical thing that would shoot off the top of my head. Yeah. But if I brought my hands out, this becomes now the point of exit for the electricity, and that's where I can.
So when you go like that, it's going to go there.
Yeah,
and
it's going to
try
go
to
here.
find something. It's going to find and that's where you have the big conductors or the
balloon
frightened
or whatever,
woman.
Yeah. But I realized that if I could keep this hand in, right?
Yeah.
So no charge was coming out, and I could just do a little switch like this, and it would look like I was passing the. Yeah, so fun to play with.
Yeah, I'll bet. But that was insanely cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now. That's cool, but I think probably most people watching this are aware that you've also been attacked. So you were doing something that wasn't supposed to be dangerous at all,
right?
For a show in the Dominican Republic, for like a talk show, and you were attacked by the host. Now, if you haven't heard about this, you tell them the whole story, because it is unbelievable. And everyone in Magic heard about it and couldn't believe that it would happen to anybody, right?
Sure.
And especially somebody as nice, charming, relaxed as you are.
Well, I appreciate.
Right?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, so tell a little bit about what happened to you.
For years, it's still ongoing in the court, so there are some things that I can't talk about. But for a few years, myself and a group of magicians went out to the Dominican Republic to do magic, and we called ourselves Curiosidades. That was the name of our show out there, which means curiosities. And it was me, Danny Garcia, Aaron Fisher, BJ Bueno, Lee Asher, Dan White, a whole bunch of us, several others that came out at different times. And the whole goal was to just spread joy, wonder, and love with magic. So we would do a media blitz, 10, 15 talk shows, and then we would do some kind of a live event. And the Straitjacket Escape, the dual Straitjacket Escape, was one of those one year. So in 2012, we were there. It was right at the beginning of our little run. And one of the first shows that we did, it was myself, BJ, and my wife were on the show. And we performed. I performed the Thread Through the Eye. And at the end of the interview, the host said that he wanted to give me a blessing. And he took a handful of liquid. And he asked someone to set it on fire, with a lighter. And it was like alcoholic, so as soon as they set it on fire, it was like a thin blue flame, like if you had a shot glass with, right? So it was that, and it was really cool. I was standing right next to him, and he said something to the camera in Spanish, and then without warning, he just turned to me and he just dropped it on my head.
Yeah.
And as it spilled, it all erupted. So he set me on fire. Yeah, and I had to pull my jacket over my face and lay on the ground to put it out, and I had first and second degree burns all over my face, on my hand. I've got a scar on my wrist still from it. I was very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky.
I was very lucky. Yeah, it was a surreal, strange.
Because I've seen the pictures, and actually people could go to your site and see it. It's part of what you've been through and what you've done. There, all second degree burns all over the side of your face, and it took how long to really subside and heal to the point where?
Oh, 6 months, I want to say, but I looked surprisingly good after a few months.
Yeah.
The doctor that I had out in the Dominican Republic was phenomenal, and I went in for cleanings, and basically what she would do is peel all the skin as it was scabbing over, and it's horrific and excruciating. But what that does is it allows the new skin to heal, to come back without scars.
Yeah.
And so she did such a good job while I was there in the Dominican Republic that I healed very quickly. And very quickly it looked like a bad sunburn that then just kind of slowly faded over time.
Right, yeah. Well, and like you said, it's ongoing. I was going to ask you how it all, finished, but it hasn't
finished. It's a crazy
yet.
story, yeah. He fled the country afterwards and went to New York and eventually came back and turned himself in. And part of that process, the only reason I didn't want to release any of the photos or anything, and the only reason we did was 4 or 5 days after it had happened, we were having problems. We were having trouble in the Dominican Republic getting police to do anything. We still, several days after it happened, no evidence had been collected, no statements had been taken. There was nothing going on. So we got advised that we needed to contact the U.S. Embassy and start building some international pressure to get them to do something.
Sure.
And so it is still ongoing. It's in the courts, and the legal system there is something I do not understand at all. I have no idea what part of the process we're in or how much longer it could take. It's just ongoing.
Well, I hope some satisfaction comes out of it because it was just insane.
You know, I do want to just say, it was such a crazy thing that happened. But looking back on it now, this is weird to kind of say, but I feel grateful for it having happened. I learned a lot through that about myself, about my family, and about what was really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can look back on that, and it was horrific, and I certainly wouldn't want to do that again, but I'm grateful for it having happened.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, coming out the other end, healed,
right, sure.
is good. But having to suffer through it,
Right.
I'm sure was not enjoyable at the time. But looking back on it,
worked out okay.
There's some things that worked out okay about it. Now, you know, like you said, you've gone over there many, many times and had great successes.
Yeah.
And let's just wrap this up by talking about one of them, and that was when you stopped time. Okay, so first of all, how does such an idea come about that you want to stop time in the entire country?
I can hear my wife
on
laughing
live television
in the back. Fran's chuckling over there because she knows.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what year this was, maybe 2010 or 2011, but Fran and I flew in. We arrived in the Dominican Republic like a day late. Everyone else had already gotten there. They'd already started doing TV shows. And so we get off the plane, and Lee Asher, one of the first things he says is, "Hey, so we were on this TV show today, and we were doing all this magic, and I promised them that we were going to come back tomorrow and stop time on live television." And I was like,
Lee?
Yeah, right? And, you know, I don't know if you know Lee well, but Lee's he's a
yeah.
genius, and he's
Yeah.
got the biggest balls of anyone I know.
Yeah.
So I said, that's
what's the
awesome.
method?
What are we going to do? And he's like, I have no idea. I just got us on TV.
Yeah.
And so we all went back that night, just bringing my suitcases in, and they're also, any ideas on how we could stop time? And so we brainstormed all night, all of us, and we wrote a bunch of interesting ideas, and it was a big risk, but we went in, and the video's online. That's on. You can find that on my website. I linked to it there. But it was a live show, nationally televised, and all of us got up on stage. We had the host come up, and I spoke directly to the camera, and there was this whole
and he
thing.
interpreted it.
He interpreted it,
and everybody was gathered around. It's kind of like We Are the World for stopping time.
Yeah, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, all these magic stars gathered around, plus all the hosts were there, and everybody's rubbing their hands, and they all touch you, and you put your hands up for the screen, right? Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, so just like a few minutes before going live, I noticed, and I won't say too much, but I noticed Dan White staring at the corner in this giant warehouse, and I walk over, and I just, what are you looking at? And he's looking at a power cord.
Yeah.
So fast forward now to the stunt, and we're on there, and I do the thing, and I tell everyone that time is going to stop, and you're going to notice this at home too, live on television. And I think I clap my hands or something.
Yeah, you said, which is now.
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
you said
now,
it in Spanish.
yeah. And I clapped my hands, and the entire lights in the studio blew.
Yeah.
And freaked the crew. Everyone.
Yeah. Nobody expected it.
No one expected what's going on. The host cussed on live television.
Yeah.
He started cussing on live television. Lights come back on.
He was freaked.
Yeah. Lights come back on. Everyone's like, "What just happened? Did we lose?" This is still live. The show's all of this is live. And we start going into the thing. All right, now if you're at home and you have a watch that stopped working, call in. And the host of his show looks at his watch. He goes, "It stopped working." And his wristwatch had stopped working. People in the studio had watches that had broken. We were leaving, and this receptionist, after the whole thing was done, her watch had a little crack in it.
Yeah.
And she was showing us. And so people from all over the country called in and said that, the clock stopped working, all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, did they continue to call in? Did you hear more and more and more? Were there more reports of it? And,
they
and
kept
all
that.
that?
I think they kept that going for a little while.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that I'll never forget, and was such a risk, and was only possible because of the specific group of guys that happened to be there and happened to brainstorm at that moment.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason that thing worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A whole team effort.
Team effort.
But starting from Lee, From
And
Lee
that's
Asher's
Lee.
just-
That's such Lee.
yeah.
It's so, and it's great that he'll just put us in those positions and force us to find a creative way out.
There you go. There you go. It has been absolutely fantastic having you here. I've really enjoyed this chance
It's
to
my
talk
pleasure.
to you.
Thank
and
you very much.
I think everybody has learned, an immense amount. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys
for spending time with us. Thank you guys for supporting Live Magic, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Wayne Houchin, everybody.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Very much.